Chapter 161, The Snow Dominator Appears. The sky above Shrek Academy was suddenly filled with a brilliant golden light. It spread like a sacred curtain, gentle and vast. Under its embrace, the oppressive spirit power pressure that Xuanzi and Poison Undying had been exerting vanished as if morning mist met the sun. The golden light, like fine threads, drifted down and turned the whole of Shrek City into a glittering, gilded town. "Light Holy Dragon, you're not dead!" Poison Undying's eyes went wide. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead. He had long assumed that after the mutual slaughter between dragon god Douluo Muen and his elder brother, Poison must die. Muen had perished just like his brother. The sight before him stunned him. Muen had not only survived, he seemed to have broken through to the realm of Limit Douluo. Muen's golden silhouette resolved in the air, calm but edged with emotion. "That battle with your elder brother, both were grievously wounded, still sits in my mind. It's a shame. If not for your elder brother's stubbornness, perhaps he'd still be alive." Poison, Undying, bristled with indignation. "You didn't die. Why didn't you die?" The unfairness of it gnawed at him. The fight had been mutually destructive, so why had his elder brother lost his life while Muen lived and advanced? "If I had died, you'd have even freer reign to trample my Shrek Academy," Muen said coolly. The words carried a chill. Poison Undying felt the weight of the pressure bearing down. The distance between a Super Douluo and a Limit Douluo was vast, the difference more extreme than between Spirit Douluo and Titled Douluo. He had been hovering on the brink of the Limit realm, but that last step was an abyss. Forced down, Poison Undying masked his resentment. "Dragon God Douluo, you know why I'm here." He hadn't actually planned a full-scale battle. If he had, he wouldn't have brought so few people or limited himself to a one-on-one with Xuanzi. Muen's expression stayed composed. "Huo Yuhao is already my personal disciple. Don't have any more improper thoughts about him, or I won't hesitate to visit your body sect myself." Poison Undying's face twisted with displeasure. "He's already accepted you as his master." "So you think you're more qualified than I am?" Muen's voice was indifferent, as if Poison Undying weren't worth his time. Poison Undying's mouth twitched. He wanted to insist he could train Huo Yuhao better. After all, Huo Yuhao had a body spirit and the body sect specialized in that, but the pressing golden aura around Muen swallowed his words. Reluctantly, he bowed out. "Fine. For the sake of face, Dragon God Douluo, the body sect concedes. We will not scheme against that youth any longer." The body sect's retreat was a relief to Yan Xiaojie and the others. No one wished for a bigger conflict. The body sect was a formidable force on the continent. They also knew Muen's current state was imperfect. Luckily, Poison Undying hadn't noticed, or today's disturbance might not have ended so easily. "Are we done talking? Then it's my turn." A clear, cold voice cut through the moment of relaxation, coming from far off in the Void Realm. Its chill shattered the eased atmosphere like a blade. Instantly, the golden sky was swept by a tide of cold. Snow-white light scattered. Snow began to fall, though it was June. A biting wind howled, and the shimmering surface of Shrek Academy's Sea God Lake cracked and froze with a series of snapping sounds. In an instant, the world had shifted. Shrek City felt transported to the extreme north, transformed into a city of ice and snow. Everyone present, Poison Undying, Xuanzi, and the titled Douluo, were stunned. Local terrain they could alter, but changing the celestial phenomena like this, and doing so without any detectable spirit fluctuation, suggested a power far beyond them. Muen squinted into the distance and finally understood the unease that had been gnawing at him. A figure radiating deadly cold was approaching at terrifying speed. From the scale of her entrance, she was no ordinary foe, at least a super powerhouse of the Limit Douluo rank. Could it be Snow Moon Douluo? No, there's no sword intent. It's not her. Yan Xiaojie's brow tightened. He tried to identify the aura, but could not. In Huo Yuhao's spirit sea, the ice dominator stirred awake. The aura was both familiar and alien, like Snow Dominator, yet carrying a mysterious power Huo Yuhao's inner beast had never felt before. Even if Snow Dominator had passed a 700,000-year heavenly tribulation, she could not have become this strong so quickly. Electrolux, long asleep, had also been roused. He sensed the outer aura and muttered in surprise, "Divine sense? A demigod has arrived." "How can it be a demigod?" Huo Yuhao's pupils contracted, and his face went pale. He glanced anxiously at Mu'en. His teacher had just taken him on as a disciple, had shown him kindness, had even offered to help heal his disability. Huo Yuhao couldn't help but fear for Mu'en's safety. Skydream Iceworm's tone was low and troubled. The situation with the body sect could be managed by Shrek Academy. Even if Huo Yuhao were taken, he might gain full cultivation. But a demigod's sudden arrival was a different matter. Whether the academy could withstand it was anyone's guess. From the distant horizon, a figure stepped through the void realm. Each step spanned hundreds of miles. She was above Shrek Academy in an instant. Snow-white robes, long hair like a waterfall of snow, a lithe, graceful figure, and a face of incomparable cold beauty, an aura that repelled warmth for 1,000 miles. It was Snow Dominator. She stood in the void realm surrounded by swirling wind and snow, a living painting of frost. "Hand over Huo Yuhao, or I will flatten your Shrek Academy." Her red lips parted calmly. The threat sent a chill through everyone. No one doubted her ability to back it up. The pressure she exuded was almost tangible. Poison Undying's mouth twitched. Again, it was about Huo Yuhao. He wondered, not for the first time, what secret the boy held to draw such powerful attention. Quietly, he began to withdraw, signaling his subordinates to fall back. The body sect had no business getting dragged into whatever was about to happen. Snow Dominator paid him no mind. She had come for one purpose, to take Huo Yuhao and rescue Ice Dominator. Everything else was irrelevant. Mu'en's expression hardened at the faint, barely concealed killing intent in her voice. He needed to know who she was. "Who are you? State your name and your purpose in seeking my disciple." The woman's voice floated coldly across the void. "World Snake, Fifth Throne, King of Chaos, Snow Dominator." Mu'en and the others stiffened. Even Poison Undying, who had pulled back some distance, felt his heart skip. They hadn't heard of an organization called World Snake, but the name Snow Dominator was known everywhere on the Douluo Continent, the dominator of the extreme north, head of the 3 kings of the extreme north, ranked 3rd among the 10 vicious beasts. Who didn't know the name? In Huo Yuhao's spirit sea, Ice Dominator stared in disbelief when she saw Snow Dominator's face and heard her title. The time she'd spent away from the extreme north hadn't seemed long. How had Shuer become so powerful? And why had she joined an obscure organization called World Snake? The changes overwhelmed her. Mu'en frowned in confusion. He had faced the Beast God Emperor before, but the pressure Snow Dominator radiated felt greater. How had she grown so strong? Had World Snake helped her? And what was her connection to Huo Yuhao? The answers eluded him. "Enough talk. Hand over Huo Yuhao," Snow Dominator snapped, eyes cold, "or I will remove Shrek Academy from the Douluo Continent." "You can say all that, but even if you are Snow Dominator, so what?" Xuanzi bristled, furious. "Shrek Academy has weathered countless storms. It's not something anyone can bully into submission." He added hotly that Snow Dominator was a spirit beast, not human, an obvious implication that she should not presume to threaten the Academy so casually. Chapter 162, The Snow Emperor's Tyranny. It wasn't only Xuanzi whose anger flared at the Snow Emperor's arrogant words. The other powerhouses of Shrek Academy felt fury ignite within them as well. Spirit power surged uncontrollably around their bodies, and looks of hostility shot toward the Snow Emperor like sharp blades. Shrek Academy, tempered and refined over millennia, carried profound heritage and lofty prestige. Its dignity could not be trampled. That a spirit beast dared to be so insolent on their soil was unbearable. "Humph," the Snow Emperor snorted. She had not come to negotiate. Her purpose was simple and direct, to seize Huo Yuhao. Emperor's frozen sky, Snow Dance blazing sun. A cold light flashed in her eyes. Ice blue energy spread outward, turning the space within thousands of meters into a frigid domain. Terrifying cold chi erupted, sweeping away every element that wasn't ice. Within that domain, the temperature plunged, as if the world had fallen into an eternal winter. Alas. Mu'en sighed, helpless. He could not hand Huo Yuhao over. Beyond his personal hopes and high regard for the disciple's potential, Huo Yuhao was a member of Shrek Academy. Surrendering him to a spirit beast in front of everyone would trample the Academy's honor and shatter the students' trust. Once such a precedent was set, the Academy's prestige, accumulated over thousands of years, would be ruined. He could not allow it. "Snow Emperor, leave. I will not hand over an academy disciple. Muen's face was solemn. Roaring with passionate dragon power, golden light surged from his body like a blazing sun, opposing the tide of cold chi. 2 yellow, 1 purple, 3 black, and 3 red spirit rings appeared around him, 9 rings in total, a configuration even more luxurious than many renowned fighters. If you don't hand him over, then die. The Snow Emperor's voice was ice itself. The air thickened instantly, cold elements boiled, and a biting wind of snow and frost swept across Shrek City. Wherever it passed, it left an ice-locked world, as if trying to seal the city in ice and erase it from the Douluo Continent. Shrek Academy, prepare for battle. Yan Shao's shout rang out. With a clear, melodious phoenix cry, his spirit power erupted and his spirit rings flared. In an instant, he transformed into a bright phoenix dozens of meters long, its body burning with warm, scorching light. The bright phoenix soared above Shrek City like a shield, its light circling the city and fighting to dispel the suffocating cold. Other titled Douluo of Shrek Academy released their spirit powers as well. Lights of different hues braided through the sky, and powerful spirit fluctuations filled the space. Those below the titled Douluo rank had already withdrawn into the city. They knew this would be a peak-level confrontation beyond their endurance. Facing such a spirit beast, Shrek Academy had no choice but to cast aside restraint and unite to defend its honor. From dozens of miles away, Poison Undying turned his head toward the roaring wind and snow. Dark clouds raged above the academy, cold chi and spirit power entangling into a breathtaking scene. He found a higher peak to descend to and watched the distant battlefield with keen interest. They're fighting already! In Sea Abyss City, Lu Jingming and the Black Tower watched the projection of Shrek Academy's situation. Surprise touched Lu Jingming's face. He had not expected the Academy to respond so decisively to the Snow Emperor. Heh! They were attacked at their doorstep. If they don't put up a fight, they're useless, Black Tower remarked, arms crossed. That's right, it's their home base. They can't back down. Lu Jingming nodded. Aside from the Academy's honor, the fact that the battle was near Sea God Island strengthened their confidence. He sipped the red tea brewed by the Black Tower puppet, a meaningful smile playing on his lips. The Snow Emperor's assault had been anticipated by Lu Jingming. He had aided her not out of mere sentiment. Using the Snow Emperor to test Shrek Academy's hidden cards was part of his plan. He wanted to see if Sea God Tang San had left any long-term preparations within the Golden Tree. The Golden Tree was the core of the plane. It could not be replaced lightly. Given the restrictions on Tang San, closely watched by the God of Destruction, Lu Jingming expected that Tang San, if he descended at all, would only send a divine sense clone. If the god's true body didn't appear, there would still be room to maneuver. Emperor's Sword, Ice Extreme unrivaled. The Snow Emperor raised her hand and the cold chi roared. The air converged into a colossal ice-blue greatsword in her palm, its blade radiating a chill that seemed to freeze existence itself. With a fierce swing, the ice sword cut toward Muen. Wherever the sword chi passed, space itself took on clear, frozen marks. Alas, Muen sighed again, but this time, determination flamed in his eyes. The golden tree on Sea God Island burst with dazzling golden light. A majestic life energy surged out and flowed into Muen as he hovered in the sky. As the life energy merged with him, his hunched posture straightened. The wrinkles of age seemed to slide off, and gray hair darkened to black as vitality returned. In moments, the elderly Muen had been transformed into a heroic, vigorous young man, his face strikingly resembling Bebe, causing those who knew Bebe to gape in surprise. Grand Ancestor, Bebe cried out within the academy, a chill of foreboding in his chest. Shu Sanchi stared between Bebe and the rejuvenated Muen, shocked that Muen had such a powerful backing. Elder Mu, why go to such lengths? Xuanzi's expression twisted with worry. He knew what a terrible price Muen was paying to forcefully pull himself back to peak strength with the Golden Tree's life energy. The original Muen might have had 5 extra years from the tree's vitality, but after this battle, no matter the outcome, Muen was likely to die. To face such a powerful enemy in the last battle of my life, I have no regrets. Muen's voice held quiet resolve. His right hand shifted into a golden dragon claw plated in dragon scales. With an earth-shattering dragon roar, golden light shot into the sky. A giant golden dragon claw, nearly 100 meters long, reached through the void and lashed out, claws aimed to seize the ice greatsword itself. Bright Dragon Claw. Chapter 163. Hersher Transformation. Boom. Ice blue light and golden radiance crashed together like two colliding stars, unleashing an unimaginable surge of power. The blast centered on the point of impact and spread outward in a storm of energy that swallowed several kilometers in an instant. The shockwave struck the protective barrier over Shrek City, sending it shuddering and rippling as if it might shatter. Seeing that, Xianliner and the others scrambled up the city walls and formed their spirit shields together, pooling their power to try to hold the city against the fallout. Xuanzi bellowed. Spirit power surged around him and formed into a titanic Tao Ti divine ox. The beast was massive, its limbs like pillars, and each step it took in the void realm seemed to threaten the fabric of space itself. It charged straight at the Snow Emperor, white lightning converging on its sharp horns. "Begone," the Snow Emperor said, impatience flickering across her face, as if Xuanzi's attack were beneath her. She lifted a jade hand, the surrounding air condensed into a cold mass in her palm. With a casual flick, an enormous ice-blue palm manifested and slammed toward Xuanzi like an iceberg hurled through space. The force shattered the void as the glacial hand slammed into the Tao Ti divine ox. White lightning met ice-blue cold. The ox's lightning was quickly frozen solid by the Snow Emperor's ultimate ice. The Tao Ti divine ox crystallized into a block of translucent ice, hurtled away like a cannonball, and crashed into a nearby hill with a thunderous impact. The hill shattered, ice and debris flew everywhere, and a blizzard of freezing air spread outward, turning the hill and the surrounding miles into a frozen wasteland. Watching from afar, Poison Duoluo raised an eyebrow. He'd never thought highly of Xuanzi, but he had to admit Xuanzi's strength ranked among the very best on the Douluo Continent. Very few could defeat him outright. Yet the Snow Emperor had sent him flying with a single palm and frozen him solid. Poison Duoluo felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. If Xuanzi fared so poorly, his own fate might not be much better. After all, both he and Xuanzi were still level 98. Differences in strength, yes, but not insurmountable ones. Xuanzi, such a pity. Muen watched the scene and shook his head. He'd been studying the Snow Emperor and had already seen that she'd taken a critical step. Though she was still a level 99 titled Douluo, her power had already reached halfway into the divine rank. That kind of terrifying strength was beyond Xuanzi's ability to withstand. Muen knew that this clash between him and the Snow Emperor had moved beyond any interference from others. With the Golden Tree's power restored, Muen felt a long, dormant surge of ambition rush through him. "I never thought anyone truly could take that step," he said to himself. "Let this old man bear witness to the realm that all spirit masters dream of." A blazing gold flooded the sky. Muen's seventh spirit ring flared, and with an earth-shaking roar, a golden dragon rose. It gleamed like a living sun, scales like molten gold, horns that seemed to pierce the heavens, stretching nearly 1,000 meters. It reared and breathed a blinding beam of golden light, cutting through the air like an arrow and shattering the silence with thunderous sonic booms. The Snow Emperor narrowed her eyes. Had she not acquired the Hersher core and endured the 700,000-year heavenly tribulation, facing Muen now might have plunged her into a grueling struggle. Humans were oddly blessed, lives shorter than 300 years, but capable of astonishing power that sometimes rivaled her centuries of cultivation without having to fight a heavenly tribulation. She hated that unfairness. Her ice-blue spirit power swelled outward. Moisture in the air froze as a lifelike ice dragon formed before her. It roared and shaped its breath into an ice-blue beam, like a gigantic ice sword, cutting through the void toward the golden dragon. Gold met ice in a collision of titans. The two beams streaked for thousands of meters and slammed together with a thunder that tore the sky. The world convulsed. The collision painted the heavens with strange light. Dark spatial rifts spiderwebbed across the void realm. Energy surged outward in tidal waves. Wherever the storm passed, clouds were torn apart, the ground was rent, and the very world seemed to tremble. Shrek City's shield held, but only barely. Outside the city, the landscape was helpless before the storm. Rolling hills vanished, forests were uprooted and shredded, and dust and debris filled the sky as if the world were ending. Monarch Overlord, Muen roared. On the golden dragon's massive claw, a tangible spiritual will coalesced, wrapping the claw in additional power. The claw tore through the void and slashed toward the Snow Emperor, ripping black cracks through space. The Snow Emperor's expression tightened. Ice blue light swelled around her right hand like a rising tide, compressing chilling energy into the muscle of her palm. She struck back, her voice barely above a whisper. Emperor's palm, great cold without snow. Her compact but devastating palm met the golden dragon's immense claw. The void itself groaned, unable to withstand the force. Black and red lightning lashed out, and the shockwave split the azure sky in two. At the collision, ice blue and gold flared with blinding brilliance like twin suns. The light was so intense no one could open their eyes. The blast of air that followed exploded outward, and the Snow Emperor's body wavered, her form knocked back away from Muen's dragon. She frowned. Physical strength had never been her forte. She was an ice empress, an elemental, a magic-type fighter. Muen's golden dragon, infused with chi and blood energy, possessed a robust physical form and a clear advantage in close combat. "Human, you are impressive. Worthy of me using this state," the Snow Emperor said with rare approval. She disliked humans, but she respected genuine power. Muen, in her eyes, deserved a dignified end. As she spoke, a new chill suddenly poured from the depths of the world. Snowflakes began to fall again like white butterflies, but the beauty belied the deadly cold beneath them. The Snow Emperor was bathed in ice-blue light that flowed over her like sculpting hands, reshaping her. Her aura exploded outward, so oppressive that everyone felt their chests tighten under its weight. Poison Douluo swallowed. He'd thought the Snow Emperor had already shown her best, but this new surge told him otherwise. This was her true strength, and it left him shaken with both fear and reverence. Muen laughed instead of showing fear. "Come, let this old man witness the might of a god," he shouted, facing death with a resolute grin. He could have yielded, hand over Huo Yuhao and possibly save his life and spare Shrek Academy the disaster, but his pride and principles mattered more. If he gave in, he would no longer be Muen, the dragon Douluo who commanded awe across the world. "As you wish," a crisp, cold voice rang out. The ice-blue light that swathed the Snow Emperor dissolved into a million sparkling particles that drifted away. When the glow faded, she stood revealed in a wholly new form. Crowning her head was a crown of ice and snow, studded with gems that shimmered with cold fire, as if they held the season's essence. Her snow-white hair flowed like a waterfall, its tips dissolving into drifting ice mist. Massive, graceful ice wings unfurled from her back, each beat curling frosty air. Her body was sheathed in smooth ice-blue armor that gleamed like the hardest ice in the world, sleek, metallic, deadly. This was the Snow Emperor's Herrscher transformation, her Herrscher armament made manifest. To any who understood the cognitive hierarchy of the Douluo Continent, this gear would be recognized as divine rank equipment, the legendary Ice and Snow divine rank. The Herrscher transformed Snow Emperor looked like the sovereign of ice itself. Her aura and power had shifted into something demigod-like. What she'd used before was only a fraction of her capability. Now, wielding the power of the Herrscher of Ice, she had truly become a force beyond ordinary comprehension. Chapter 164. My apologies, I couldn't give you a satisfying fight. In her Herrscher form, the Snow Empress radiated a majestic, oppressive aura that dwarfed Muen's power. Gale force winds howled and blizzards churned across the sky. Centered on Shrek City, hundreds of miles were instantly swallowed by ice and snow, turned into a silent, frozen wasteland. The Snow Empress held an ice sword, forged from condensed snow and cold, her gaze icily fixed on Muen. Without hesitation, she struck again. The blow looked effortless, but carried terrifying force, an ice-blue slash cutting cleanly across the white expanse, leaving a luminous streak between heaven and earth. Wherever the blade passed, space itself ruptured with a heart-stopping sizzle. Muen's pupils shrank. The sword's power was beyond what he could withstand. At the brink of life and death, he abandoned hesitation. As Sea God Pavilion Master, he called upon the hidden foundational power of the Sea God Pavilion. A blue-gold divine light shot into the sky from Sea God Island like an endless tide, carrying the unmistakable aura of divinity. The Snow Empress's blade struck it with a savage force. Light exploded and energies tore at one another, the clash roaring through the void. For a time, the sword seemed to shatter the defense, but slowly, under the resistance of that blue-gold light, the sword's radiance dissipated. It could not break through. Sea God's light. He actually used the Sea God's light, Poison Undying said from a distance, eyes wide with shock. The Body Sex records contained histories of conflicts with Shrek Academy. The Sea God's light, Sea God Island's ultimate trump card, was recorded in meticulous detail. It contained a remnant of Sea God Tongsan's power. Tongsan, who had ascended to the God realm 10,000 years ago, and Shrek Academy would only ever use it in a true life-or-death crisis. In the past, it had shone against the Body Sect and against the beast god Tian at the height of a beast tide. Now it had reappeared, a desperate bulwark against the Snow Empress. The Snow Empress frowned. She had heard of its fame, even Tian had feared it, but she considered it insufficient. The sea god had ascended 10 millennia ago. How much could be left? Her lips curved coldly as she pointed one hand to the heavens and the other to the earth. Above the heavens and below, I alone am honored. Her voice carried a sovereign finality that spread across the battlefield. White ripples radiated outward from her like ice, thousands of meters of frozen silence. Wherever the white light fell, space itself stilled. The sea god's light, the giant golden dragon form of Muen, Yan Xiaojie, and the defenders of Shrek City, all froze in place. Their bodies locked as if crystallized. Even spiritual energy within them ceased to respond. Muen's mind remained briefly aware, thoughts struggling to operate, but his body would not obey. "It's over, dragon god Douluo Muen. I will remember your name," the Snow Empress said with hollow calm. Ice Chi converged around her and took shape as a colossal bow. She drew it gently, and in a moment an ice arrow formed, a brilliant white shaft of light. She loosed, and it screamed like a meteor across the sky, a thunderous sonic boom trailing behind it. The arrow found the immobilized golden dragon with lethal precision and pierced its heart. A dull sound, then golden blood sprayed like a fountain, spattering across the void. The frozen domain snapped back to normal. Everyone's bodies unfroze, but they were helpless witnesses to the carnage. "Teacher!" "Elder Mu!" "Grand Ancestor!" cries tore the air. Shock and despair painted every face as they stared at the golden dragon in the sky, a great hole blown through its chest, golden blood raining down. Everything had happened in a breath. Muen's desperate activation of the sea god's light, the Snow Empress's space-freezing ripples, and then his fatal wound. Yan Xiaojie and the others had wanted to save him, but against the Snow Empress's unparalleled might, they were powerless. Mortally wounded, Muen's super-true body could not hold. The golden dragon dissolved, and his human form fell like a kite with a snapped string from 1,000 meters up. A shocking hole gaped in his chest where his heart had been. Blood soaked his clothes as his body cooled and his consciousness blurred. The wind's howl seemed like a funeral dirge. The bitter cries of his students and comrades filled his ears. He forced his heavy eyelids open and looked up at the distant, indifferent Snow Empress. A bitter smile touched his lips. "Is this the power of that realm? It's truly captivating. My apologies, Snow Empress. I couldn't give you a satisfying fight." He had done all he could, used the Sea God Pavilion's foundation, and briefly reached his peak again with the Golden Tree's aid. But standing before the Snow Empress in full Herrscher fury, he felt small and inadequate. Ice crept out from the wound and spread over his body. In his final moments, he stared back at Shrek Academy, those familiar buildings and every memory they held, eyes full of worry and unwillingness to let go. Xuanzi had some talent, but lacked the experience for such a burden. Yan Xiaojie and the others were limited, and the next generation, like Ma Xiaotao, was still too young. He could not rest easy. Life's wind blew out as his thoughts sank into silence and his consciousness dissolved. His body crystallized into clear ice, then shattered with a roar. Countless ice fragments scattered and drifted down, covering Shrek Academy like silver morning. The dragon god Douluo has fallen. Poison Undying watched in stunned terror. From his vantage, he had been spared the freezing ripple, but he felt deeply the power that had stilled even the sea god's light. If the sea god's own relic could be frozen, and the dragon god Douluo felled so utterly, the Snow Empress's might was beyond imagining. Panic seized him. "Go! Leave now! Return to the sect!" he shouted in a near-hysteric voice. After what they had just seen, who could say whether the Snow Empress would spare the body sect? The body sect had hunted 100,000-year spirit beasts and earned many enemies. They had no hope against such a beast. Without waiting for a second order, the body sect's experts fled, souls rattled, scattering into the distance. Lives mattered more than curiosity about Shrek Academy's fate. He didn't make a move yet? Lu Jingming frowned, confusion and disbelief creasing his face. Muen had fallen, but the backup from the sea god Tang San that Lu Jingming had expected still hadn't appeared. The Black Tower gave a dry chuckle. "Heh! It seems the sea god you speak of doesn't care much for that academy," he said with a teasing edge. Lu Jingming considered, then slowly explained his guess. "It's always been about the Golden Tree, not Shrek Academy. As long as the Golden Tree isn't touched, he won't intervene." He thought Tang San's leftover schemes on the Douluo Continent were closely guarded by the god of destruction. Every time Tang San used a backup, he risked exposing himself even more. So he would act only if absolutely necessary. To Tang San, Shrek Academy might just be a tool to guard and nurture the Golden Tree, like the Tang sect he founded, which was left with a hidden hand. Hidden weapons, the mysterious heaven treasure record, poisonous immortal herbs, all were partial legacies, except for the Clear Sky sect. Bloodbound to Tang San and cared for with Da Ming and Ming watching over it, neither the Tang sect nor Shrek Academy necessarily held the highest place in his plans. Chapter 165, Shrek's Choice. From the matter of the ice and fire yin-yang, well, Tang San's attitudes toward the three great powers, the Clear Sky sect, Shrek Academy, and the Tang sect, became strikingly different. Neither the Tang sect nor Shrek Academy knew the exact location of the ice and fire yin-yang well. Despite their centuries of searching, they had never found a single clue. The Clear Sky sect, however, possessed a detailed map of the place, which explained a great deal. It suggested that even if Shrek Academy were plunged into dire straits, so long as the safety of the Golden Tree wasn't threatened, the backup plan sea god Tang San hid within it would likely remain dormant. Lu Jingming, having understood this, found himself curious about what Shrek Academy would choose to do next. At this moment, dragon god Douluo Muen had already fallen. Facing the terrifying Snow Empress, Shrek Academy had clearly lost the ability to resist. In such desperation, would they fight the Snow Empress to the death or meekly hand over Huo Yuhao? Lu Jingming was eager to know the answer. Thousands of meters above Shrek City, the Snow Empress stared in the direction Muen had disappeared, a brief flicker of feeling passing through her. Douluo Continent had lost another top-tier powerhouse. The feeling was fleeting. She dismissed it and focused inward, laying a hand on her chest to sense the power of the Hersher core. Recalling the skill she had just used, her eyes showed unmistakable astonishment. "Above the heavens and below, I alone am honored." A new move she had developed after obtaining the Hersher gem and fusing it with her own power had just seen its first actual use. She had expected it to freeze space, but she had not expected it to be so overwhelming. The move proved difficult even for a limit Douluo to resist. Even the sea god's light left by the sea god had been forcibly frozen before this power. The terror of the Hersher transformation surprised even the Snow Empress herself. She descended slowly, cold gaze fixed on Yan Xiaojie and the others who had flown up to face her. Yan Xiaojie's eyes were bloodshot, his hatred and fury burning. Behind him, more than a dozen titled Douluo watched with tense expressions, anger and vigilance mingling as they faced a foe who dwarfed them in strength. "Hand over Huo Yuhao. If you refuse, you will all die." Her voice was icy, carrying inexorable chill and killing intent. As the words fell, a cold wave spread outward and instantly washed over everyone present. The titled Douluo of Shrek Academy felt their bodies stiffen, the sense of a looming, inescapable death pressed down, making them shiver. They understood the grim truth. Even with greater numbers, their power was insignificant against the Snow Empress in her Hersher form. They likely could not even break through her divine armor. Yan Xiaojie's lips quivered. He wanted to refuse outright, to uphold Shrek Academy's dignity, but the bone-chilling cold wrapped tightly around his body, clamping his throat and keeping the words of defiance from forming. The Sea God Pavilion elders wore heavy expressions. They knew that handing over Huo Yuhao would betray Muen's last wish. Muen had given his life to protect Huo Yuhao, dying heroically. To surrender Huo Yuhao now would tarnish Shrek Academy's honor, perhaps irreparably. But if they refused, with the Snow Empress's demonstrated power, the Academy might be wiped from the Douluo Continent that day. The move that could freeze space chilled them to the bone. With Muen dead, no one among them could wield the Sea God's light as a trump card. Shrek Academy was in unprecedented peril. If given time, the Academy could muster over 50 titled Douluo to besiege the Snow Empress. But her attack had been sudden and decisive. Muen had been forced to face her alone and had been overwhelmed. My patience is limited. 3 minutes. If you don't hand over Huo Yuhao, this city need not exist. The Snow Empress's tone was flat, void of mercy. She extended her divine sense, and a crushing spirit pressure fell like a mountain. Yan Xiaojie and the others felt as if 10,000 jinn were weighing them down. They dropped rapidly from the air and hit the snow-covered ground in a tangle. The scene drove home the yawning gap in strength between them. "Let's fight her!" Shan Liner, hot-blooded as ever, bristled and gripped her spear. Her eyes flashed with desperate resolve. "Liner, don't be impulsive." Her mother, Qingjing Douluo Elder Song, stepped forward, trying to restrain her. She knew what fighting the Snow Empress now would mean, a futile, heartbreaking sacrifice. She would not let her daughter throw herself away. "Then what? Are we really going to hand over Huo Yuhao? Elder Mu would rather die than hand him over. Are we to go against his wishes?" Xian Liner's voice trembled with fury and tears of unwillingness. Her words struck a chord. The atmosphere tightened until it was suffocating. Handing over Huo Yuhao would wound Shrek Academy's honor amassed over 10,000 years, something they could hardly accept. "Then we fight to the death." Beast King Douluo Gongchenglong, fiery as well, clenched his fists, ready to battle to the end. A weak cough interrupted the rising storm. Xuanzi's voice was low. When he spoke, a hint of relief spread across their faces. He'd taken a palm strike from the Snow Empress earlier. Everyone had feared for him. Seeing him alive gave them a momentary lift of hope. But Xuanzi looked battered, coughing violently. The Snow Empress's cold qi had invaded him and gravely damaged his internal organs. His expression grew grave as he looked over the snow-blanketed Shrek Academy and then to Yan Xiaojie and the others. "Our decision concerns the lives of everyone in Shrek City. Are we to sacrifice all the disciples for the sake of one?" His voice was heavy. The words shook them. Xian Liner and the others stared at Xuanzi, finding in his tone the desire to surrender Huo Yuhao. "Elder Xuan, if we give him up, what becomes of Shrek Academy's dignity? Shall we let her trample it?" Xian Liner refused to accept such humiliation. She would die fighting rather than submit. "We cannot abandon all the disciples for one person. We can die, but the Academy must not fall," Yan Xiaojie said, closing his eyes and gritting his teeth. "Yan Xiaojie!" Xian Liner shot him a look of contempt and disappointment. "There's no time," Xuanzi said grimly. "The Academy cannot be destroyed in our hands. Xiaojie, go bring Huo Yuhao." How could he not resent it? How could he not be unwilling? Yet the cruelty of reality forced recognition. Even Mu En, at his peak, had died facing the Snow Empress. Xuanzi himself had not even managed to withstand one of her moves. What did they have to match her? As long as Shrek Academy survived, hope of revenge remained. If the Academy fell, everything would be ashes. Reluctantly, he reached the painful decision, sacrifice Huo Yuhao, even though it meant going against Mu En's dying wish. Many, like Xian Liner and Qian Duoduo, opposed Xuanzi, but after Mu En's death, Xuanzi held the highest authority in the Sea God Pavilion. With his strength and the majority's support, the decision stood. Before the 3 minutes expired, Yan Xiaojie entered the Sea God Pavilion and brought Huo Yuhao out. Seeing him, complex emotions flickered across everyone's faces. Guilt for handing him over to save themselves, and suspicion. Huo Yuhao's presence had drawn the Snow Empress here, triggering this disaster. In many hearts, he had become the scapegoat. Huo Yuhao was expressionless, remarkably calm. When Yan Xiao came for him, he had already guessed what was coming. Mu En had died protecting him. That sacrifice left him soaked in gratitude and warmth, but also in crushing guilt. He understood why the Snow Empress had come. According to conjecture from the Tianmeng Ice Worm and the Ice Empress, it was likely for the Ice Empress inside him. He had meant to step out and take responsibility himself, but Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao had held him back. Before he could act, Mu En had fallen. Events had moved too fast. Huo Yuhao had no time to react beyond the raw grief of losing his teacher. Then, Yan Xiaozhe had come. Chapter 166, Ice Empress and Snow Empress. The moment Yan Xiaozhe stepped forward, Huo Yuhao already understood the choice Shrek Academy had made. He did not blame the academy. He knew in his heart that this was his doing. If he had acted sooner, Muen might still be alive, and Shrek Academy would not have fallen into this desperate situation. Even without Yan Xiaozhe's intervention, he would have stepped forward for Wang Dong, Xiao Xiao, and the classmates and teachers who had shown him warmth and care. Thinking of them, a faint, rueful smile touched Huo Yuhao's lips. There were people here he cared about, friendships he treasured. That made the sacrifice feel less meaningless. Heh! Shrek Academy! The Snow Empress's mouth curved into a sneer, her eyes full of disdain. To her, the academy that always boasted of righteousness had shown its true, despicable colors when confronted with absolute power. To preserve the school as a whole, they had chosen to compromise and hand him over. Snow Empress had come for Huo Yuhao, but he was still a disciple of Shrek Academy. The academy's decision would certainly dishearten many students. She didn't care. To her, among everyone at Shrek Academy, only Dragon God Douluo Mu En merited any special regard. Everybody else was negligible. Yan Xiaozhe and the others bit their lips until they tasted blood, fists clenched so tight their knuckles blanched. Anger and humiliation burned in their chests, but there was nothing they could do. Before Snow Empress's terrifying power, resistance had no place. Only the bitter medicine of submission remained. Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao watched as Snow Empress led Huo Yuhao away, tormented by anxiety. Their eyes brimmed with urgency and helplessness. Bei stared in disbelief. He could not fathom the academy's decision. Grand Ancestor Mu En had sacrificed himself for Huo Yuhao. What did that sacrifice mean now? Inner court disciples like Han Ruoro, Wu Ming, and Ling Luochen could not help feeling let down by Shrek Academy. They understood the choice had been made for the greater good, but it still stung. Outside the academy, those who usually disliked Huo Yuhao, Wu Feng, Dai Huabin, Zhu Lu, couldn't hide their schadenfreude. They believed he was finally getting what he deserved, blind to the helplessness and sorrow behind the academy's actions. Ning Tian, young lord of the 9 treasure glazed tile school, wore a solemn expression. She knew how closely tied her school was to Shrek Academy. Such a cataclysmic change there could have adverse consequences for her own institution. As Snow Empress and Huo Yuhao receded into the distance, the howling wind and whipping snow gradually quieted, but a heavy crust of ice remained on the ground, stubborn and slow to melt. That layer of ice felt like the chill that had settled over every Shrek Academy student's heart, a hardness that would not thaw quickly, an indelible shadow. Hundreds of kilometers away, in a deserted plain, Snow Empress tossed Huo Yuhao to the frozen earth and said coldly, "You know why I came." Her eyes burned with deadly intent, and a chill ran through Huo Yuhao's body. He pushed himself up slowly, dusted off his clothes, and replied with a bitter smile, "I know. You're here for the Ice Empress, aren't you?" At his words, an emerald light flared around him and slowly took shape. A translucent figure materialized before Snow Empress, the Ice Empress. She had long green hair tied into twin ponytails and a slight, delicate frame. Seeing her, Snow Empress's cold mask cracked into something like a smile. "Binger, you're not dead after all." "Snow Empress, it's been a long time." A white flash brought another form into view, Tianmeng Iceworm. Snow Empress looked the creature over, frowning a little, and then remembered enough to sneer. "That lucky bug, what's it doing here?" "Binger, what happened? Why are you on a human? Did the people force you?" Snow Empress's tone was sharp. She seemed ready to kill Huo Yuhao on the spot. "No, Shuer, listen." The Ice Empress hurriedly waved her hand and stepped in front of Huo Yuhao, shielding him. It wasn't affection that made her act. She had only recently become his second spirit. But if Huo Yuhao died, she could not escape either. Her spirit had already bound to him. Die he would, and she would be lost with him. She explained how Tianmeng Iceworm had lured her with the so-called God creation plan, and how she had ultimately chosen to bind herself to Huo Yuhao as his second spirit. Snow Empress listened, frowning more and more tightly. The God creation plan sounded plausible at first, but she saw the holes in it. Since joining the World Serpent, she had learned certain truths. In this age of Douluo Continent, becoming a divinity was nearly impossible. There were no vacant god positions left in the god realm, no place for new divinities. Unless someone voluntarily surrendered a god position, something that hardly ever happened, no matter how brilliant Huo Yuhao's talent, ascending to the god realm without a vacancy was fantasy. Condensing a god position might be within his reach, but without a place in the god realm, that position would be meaningless. Worse, it might even do more harm than good. The god creation plan depended on Huo Yuhao both condensing a god position and actually ascending. Without both, it was a dead end. Binger, Snow Empress said, softening her voice, I've found a path and a method to become a divinity. Don't pin your hopes on a human. Come home with me. As a member of the World Serpent, Snow Empress knew the hidden power of the Saint Mark. Though its secrets had not been publicly revealed, she understood that opening the Saint Mark space could accommodate a god position. She had already received a Saint Mark from Lu Jingming. It had not yet awakened, nor had she opened its space. But in the far north, she had begun to accumulate power of faith, preparing to condense a god position. She even intended to ask Lu Jingming for another Saint Mark to give the Ice Empress. If the Ice Empress abandoned her spirit beast body and reshaped a new physical body, she could renounce her spirit beast identity and avoid the heavenly tribulation's curse and the restrictions that barred her path to divinity. The Ice Empress's eyes brightened at Snow Empress's words. Compared with being bound to Huo Yuhao and stalked by the annoying Tianmeng Iceworm, she naturally longed to go with Snow Empress. But after a moment, the light in her eyes dimmed. Shuer, if I leave Yuhao, what will happen to him? I chose to follow him. Please, don't harm him. Snow Empress's brows knitted. The Ice Empress had changed. Her time among humans had softened her. Once haughty and indifferent, she now cared for a human's fate. Snow Empress felt a twinge of irony. She herself had been altered by contact with mortals. She looked instead at Mobius and called into the void. Mobius, I know you're there. Help me. A ripple in the void realm preceded Mobius's arrival. She stepped forward with a sly smile, her eyes quick and cunning. The Ice Empress watched her warily. Something about Mobius made the younger spirit uneasy. Her intuition told her that this woman, snake-like and smiling, was not someone to take lightly. She might be as powerful as Snow Empress herself. Don't worry, Binger, Snow Empress soothed. She's with me now. You can trust her. Mobius glanced at Huo Yuhao and the Ice Empress and grinned. I'm more interested in you, she said, fingertip pressed to her lips, head cocked, suggestion and appetite in her voice. Snow Empress's lips twitched. She understood the implication and warned Mobius coolly, Don't even think about it. You won't lay a hand on Binger. Mobius's snake-like eyes narrowed in irritation. She muttered under her breath that Lu Jingming's meddling had made these guinea pigs too suspicious, making her job difficult. At that moment, far away in Haiyuan City, Lu Jingming sneezed and rubbed his nose. Who's thinking about me? He grumbled. Her spiritual origin has already merged into this little guinea pig's spirit space, Mobius went on. Although it can be extracted, it cannot survive long outside him. But if she reshapes her physical body in time, there's no problem. You know who to ask for help. Snow Empress nodded. She knew who could help the Ice Empress reshape her body. Mobius, watching Huo Yuhao closely, already understood his condition. Binger, don't worry. I have a way to help you reform your body, she promised. Tianmeng Iceworm hesitated at the edge of the group, its mouth opening as if to speak, then closing again when it met Snow Empress's gaze. Fear welled up within it, and it swallowed its words. The Ice Empress looked at Huo Yuhao, hesitation flickering across her face. She knew her next choice would affect him. After a long breath, she said softly, If I leave him, will it harm him? I accepted binding to him willingly. Shuer, I beg you, not to hurt him. Snow Empress frowned. This was a thorny problem. She was a warrior first and foremost, but faced with the Ice Empress's predicament, she was at a loss. Still, she adjusted her tone and addressed Mobius. If you're willing to help extract Binger's origin and reshape her body, I'll arrange whatever experimental materials you need, even capture dangerous beasts for your research. Mobius's smile widened, but there was a strange light in her eyes. Extraction will at most cause him spiritual damage, she said lightly. He'll recover after some rest. Besides, we still have this big bug's origin to consider. If Lu Jingming had been there, he would have seen the hidden malice behind Mobius's words. To everyone else, she seemed merely practical and helpful. To Lu Jingming, Mobius's expression would have revealed intent that was far from benign. For now, though, her promise startled the Ice Empress and Huoyuhao in different ways. A chance, fragile and risky, had appeared. They could grasp it, but at a cost. Mobius's smile never left her face, but the light in her eyes suggested this bargain might demand more than anyone yet realized. Chapter 167, Stripping the Snow Empress. Yuhao, I'm sorry, I have to leave, but I still sincerely hope you and Tianmeng Iceworm succeed. The Snow Empress looked at Huoyuhao, apology in her eyes. She had once chosen to follow him and walk this uncertain path of God creation together. Now she had no choice but to go. In her heart, Xiaobai weighed too heavily. Compared to betting everything on the almost impossible chance of becoming a divinity with Huoyuhao, she trusted Xiaobai. The power Xiaobai had just displayed far exceeded that of a limit Douluo, so overwhelming that she almost believed Xiaobai had already reached divinity, if not for the clear difference between her aura and the might of the divinities from the Three Divinities War 10,000 years ago. Shrek Academy, which had once frightened the world, had been so thoroughly suppressed by Xiaobai alone. Don't be like this, Snow Empress. I should be the one thanking you for choosing me back then. Without you, I wouldn't be here today. If you want to leave, that's your choice. I can't stop you. Huoyuhao shook his head gently, his expression regretful but understanding. He knew she had her reasons. Without her help, he would never have beaten Dai Huabin so many times or forced him to kneel and admit his faults. Just strip my soul origin. Take my spirit ring and spirit bone. I don't need them anymore. The Snow Empress turned to Mobius. Instinct warned her that this woman was dangerous, but since Xiaobai trusted her, she set aside suspicion. She knew her soul origin, ring, and spirit bone were long fused with Huoyuhao's. Forcibly separating them would wound him severely. All right, little white mouse, get ready. Mobius chuckled, an unreadable smile on her lips. Green arcs of electricity curled around her fingertips as she aimed at the spot between Huoyuhao's brows. Outside, the Snow Empress's figure fragmented into countless green motes of light and streamed back toward Huoyuhao's brow. At the same time, the Tianmeng Iceworm dove into Huoyuhao's spiritual sea without hesitation. It knew that splitting the Snow Empress's soul origin would inevitably damage Huoyuhao's soul origin, so it must use its own mental force origin to compensate and stabilize his mental space. In Huoyuhao's mind, a dark serpentine shadow patterned with green slid out, opened its maw, and swallowed a jade-green globe, the Snow Empress's soul origin. It felt as if an invisible giant hand was tearing his soul apart. Pain crashed through him. He let out a muffled groan, his face going ashen. His vision blurred, and he nearly fainted. Fortunately, the Tianmeng Iceworm reacted fast, pouring its million-year mental force origin into Huoyuhao's wounds and quickly mending the tear so it wouldn't deepen. Mobius withdrew her finger. In her palm sat the jade-green globe, pure soul origin of the Snow Empress. Binger. Xiaobai's eyes filled with worry as she stared at it. Take it. Find that boy within 3 days, or her soul origin will dissipate. Mobius tossed the soul origin to Xiaobai. Xiaobai caught it carefully. A soft white light wrapped the jade sphere, forming a protective shell. I understand. Thank you. I'll keep my promise. Xiaobai bowed with sincere thanks, then glanced at Huoyuhao, clutching his forehead in pain. She would not hurt him. She had promised the Snow Empress, but she could not control Mobius. With that, she turned into a streak of brilliant white and sped toward Haiyuan City. Heh, Mobius watched Huoyuhao with interest. At that moment, the storage spirit tool on his wrist shattered without warning. A dark red gem, shimmering with a strange glow, leapt free. It floated to the spot between Huoyuhao's brows and slowly fused, becoming one with him. An untreated pseudo-Herrscher core. Can a Herrscher personality form in this world? How interesting. Mobius observed Huo Yuhao like a specimen. Then her figure blurred and dissolved into the space. Pain, self-blame, regret, hatred. How could I be so weak? In Huo Yuhao's mental space, the Tianmeng iceworm concentrated on repairing his damaged soul origin. A voice, faint but unmistakable, sounded behind them. Both the worm and Huo Yuhao shuddered. The voice was far too familiar. It was in fact Huo Yuhao's own voice. They turned and were stunned to see another Huo Yuhao in the mental space, almost identical, except for blood-red pupils. Who are you? Why are you in my mind? Huo Yuhao's face was still pale as he stared at the blood-eyed duplicate. The Tianmeng iceworm looked on, equally stunned. Heh, who am I? You should know, right? I am you. The blood-eyed Huo Yuhao's mouth tilted into a cold, faint smile. A surge of mental force radiated outward, resonating through the mental space, and in an instant he seized control of it. Dai Huabin wants to kill you, yet you never truly retaliate. The Academy shields him, and you suffer silently, never daring to show resentment. Xiao Bai killed your teacher, and you don't even hate her. Shrek Academy abandoned you, the Snow Empress left you, and you accept it all. How could I be so weak? His eyes glowed blood red. Floods of negative emotions poured into Huo Yuhao's mind like a breached dam. The feeling was horribly familiar. Huo Yuhao's heart shook. You are that gem, Huo Yuhao blurted. Yes and no. I was born from your negative emotions, from your evasion and weakness. I am you. The blood-eyed Huo Yuhao didn't lie. The gem's power had helped shape him, but fundamentally he was a part of Huo Yuhao, a personality formed from accumulated anger and pain. I will avenge my mother. Dai Huabin, I will kill him. I will never forgive those who betrayed me. Madness and malice laced his voice. A being birthed from pure negative emotion could not be trusted to be benevolent. Tianmeng brother. Huo Yuhao's face went even paler as he cried out to the iceworm. The creature understood. The 10 great spheres of golden light above the spiritual sea unleashed powerful mental origins and shot out like golden chains to bind the blood-eyed intruder. Tianmeng brother, I told you, I am Huo Yuhao. I am your master. The blood-eyed Huo Yuhao smiled, and in the next instant, the whole mental space convulsed. A tide of dark red mental force surged outward and enveloped the Tianmeng iceworm. The golden chains froze midair, the glowing clusters high above dimmed. Tianmeng brother, Huo Yuhao cried in surprise. He hadn't expected the iceworm to be so easily countered. The blood-eyed self's power far exceeded his imagination. Sleep. When you wake, everything will be over. I will make those who humiliated and betrayed me, and those who killed my mother, pay dearly. The blood-eyed Huahao appeared before Huo Yuhao, madness blazing in his eyes as he stared into his spirit eyes. Alas! Just as Huo Yuhao felt himself slipping toward sleep, an old, frail voice rang out. Old Ilyasfil, are you going to stop me too? The blood-eyed Huahao paused and turned. Ilyasfil had appeared behind him. Little Yuhao, it seems I've harmed you. Ilyasfil's expression was complicated. With his remaining divine sense, he could see that this blood-eyed figure wasn't an external fiend, but a genuine split of Huo Yuhao himself, an acquired second personality, not innate. It was born from his suffering and catalyzed by that mysterious dark red gem. Guilt weighed on Ilyasfil. If not for him, Huo Yuhao might never have bought or used that gem, and this dark personality might not have arisen. Old Ilyasfil. Huo Yuhao fought with everything he had to resist the flood of negativity. Little Yuhao, I've always told you, hatred isn't all of your life. Ilyasfil's fingers wove a pattern of divine sense as he pointed toward the blood-eyed duplicate. The blood-eyed Huohao's smile twisted cruelly. Blood-red patterns crept from the corners of his eyes and spread into a sinister design across his forehead. A dark red gem embedded itself in his brow, forming an eerie third eye. A storm of blood-red mental fluctuation radiated outward. Ilyasfil's body trembled. Strange blood-red lines began to mar his gray energy form. So that's how it is. I was careless. Has my divine sense waned so far? The me at my peak wouldn't fall for such a trick. Ilyasfil muttered, helpless as he watched the red pattern spread over him. Chapter 168, Scarlet Douluo. Feiyan Ilyasfil never expected that repairing his divine sense with that dark red gem back then would become his greatest weakness now. It was a cruel twist of fate. Elder Ilyasfil, I've always known your power, and I know you won't agree with me. So please, keep sleeping, Elder Ilyasfil. The blood-eyed Huo Yuhao bowed respectfully to Ilyasville, at least to the part of him that was the main personality. Originally, he had been Huo Yuhao, and he knew Ilyasville and the Tianmeng iceworm intimately. He would never expose himself without preparing thoroughly. In fact, he had already come into being for some time, but had hidden inside the gem, not revealing himself. Only when the Ice Empress was stripped away and the host's mind was at its most vulnerable did he seize the opportunity to take control of Ilyasville's mental space and suppress the Tianmeng iceworm. It was Ilyasville's use of the gem to repair his divine sense, the taint of that gem, that let Huo Yuhao counter-control him. Without that, with Ilyasville's divine sense active, overthrowing the main personality would have been nearly impossible. As Ilyasville's divine sense slipped back into slumber, Huo Yuhao's consciousness fell into darkness. He could still vaguely perceive things. He was the host, after all, but he lost full awareness. Outside, his body dropped to the ground, unconscious, blood-red light rippling across him. That dark glow emitted waves of mental force. Animals that tried to approach were terrified and scattered. Yet that evil aura also drew an unwanted visitor. This must be the place. A low whistle echoed from the sky. A massive emerald bird descended like a thundercloud, wings spanning several meters, feathers shining with a jade luster that flashed dazzlingly in the sun. On its broad back sat a gothic little girl who looked no older than 12 or 13. She held an ornate parasol, legs dangling casually, her face playful and innocent, though an indescribable wickedness clung to her. Her dark red hair tied into twin pigtails framed eyes as vivid as blood. She regarded the unconscious Huo Yuhao with interest, lips curving. Interesting. This evil mental force is a fine seedling. She twitched a finger, and a faint blood-red thread flashed through the air and vanished. The emerald bird, which had been hovering, went blank-eyed and obediently landed. It lowered its head and extended its huge beak to pick up Huo Yuhao. But as the beak neared him, the air turned bone-chilling. Gray mist swept out, and a dimensional gate opened, exuding a sinister aura. A massive bone dragon skull emerged, its sockets burning with green flame, and it spat a blast of icy breath. The wind froze the emerald bird into a crystalline sculpture, glittering unearthly in the sunlight. Oh, undead? Her mount frozen solid, the little girl in the dark red gothic dress frowned slightly. A trace of life chi flitted across her features. But when her eyes fell on the bone dragon and the tide of skeleton undead that poured from the gate, a bright interest lit them. She remained standing, with her umbrella, watching the unfolding scene in the Void Realm as though she were an amused spectator. Huo Yuhao opened his eyes slowly. A grimness swam behind the blood in his gaze as he looked at the little girl in the air, vexation twisting his face. He couldn't believe his luck. He'd only just managed to seize control of his body, using the gem's power to overwhelm Ilyasville and the Tianmeng iceworm. Now, the first person he encountered was a titled Douluo. Don't be fooled by how effortlessly he'd suppressed the iceworm and Ilyasville in mental space. That was home field and the gem's doing. In the real world, his spirit power had only just reached spirit elder level. His mental force was strong, but against a titled Douluo, it was almost meaningless. He had no hope of a fair fight. Desperate, he released the undead bound in the undead demigod plane he'd obtained from Ilyasville, hoping to create chaos and slip away. Interesting, little fellow. Want to join us? The gothic child laughed, clear bell-like, but the sound sent chills through Huo Yuhao. Before he could respond, her 9 spirit rings materialized in sequence, 3 purple, 5 black, and 1 red. The configuration was terrifying. Huo Yuhao's pupils shrank. A heavy pressure of spirit power descended, no weaker than that from Xuanzi. At the same time, countless blood-red threads drifted down like rain and landed on the newly summoned undead. Huo Yuhao realized in an instant that his control had been stolen. Worse, several of those threads snaked to his own body and bound him. He became immobilized. When did? Huo Yuhao's face went ashen. The blood in his eyes flared into a feral light. He had no idea when the other party struck. When you tried to run, the little girl said, and in the same breath her figure blurred. She was suddenly in front of him, a slender finger hooking his chin. A smug, faint smile rested on her face. My name is Fei Yan. My title is Scarlet. I'm the Holy Spirit cult's 3rd enshrined. Little fellow, want to join us? We're of the same kind. Her voice was soft and coaxing, a temptation wrapped in silky tones. Holy Spirit cult? Never heard of it. Huo Yuhao couldn't move, but his mental force was still intact. He tried to creep the dark red light into Fei Yan's mind. A cold snort escaped Fei Yan. Huo Yuhao felt as if his skull had been struck by a hammer. His head jerked back uncontrollably, blood seeping from his eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. It was agonizing. Bold little thing, Fei Yan said, a sliver of killing intent in her eyes. Your mental force is strong, but I'm a level 97 titled Douluo. The gap between us is like heaven and earth. If you didn't have some use, I'd have turned you into a lifeless puppet already. She eyed the evil, potentially fertile mental force within him and the undead manipulation he had demonstrated. Both intrigued her. Had Huo Yuhao been useless, she would have slaughtered him long ago. What's in it for me? Huo Yuhao gritted out through the pain. Desperation and ambition warred in him. He wanted power and revenge. He didn't want to go back to Shrek Academy. A strong backer was exactly what he needed. He could have tried the body sect, but in his current situation, he had no better options. Refusal meant likely death. How about I make you a saint? Fei Yan's voice brightened. If he yielded, everything would be easy. An excellent seed with unusual aptitude would please the Grand Cult Master immensely. Huo Yuhao swallowed, then forced the word out. Deal. Fei Yan's lips curved into a satisfied smile. She had been drawn by the intense battle fluctuations coming from Shrek City, but she hadn't expected such a find. Good. Come with me. I'll take you back to the cult. She gripped Huo Yuhao by the collar, as if lifting a feather, and relaxed her control over the undead. The emerald bird she'd come on, now an ice sculpture, didn't merit another glance. She rose into the air and took off, treating the creature as nothing more than a disposable mount. Before he left, Huo Yuhao quickly retracted the summoned undead back into the undead demigod plane. In the god realm, Tang San had only just returned to the Sea God Hall from the forbidden land of the gods when he focused on the lower realm through the divine sense he'd planted on Guangdong. In a heartbeat, his expression turned grave. Huo Yuhao had left Shrek Academy. That unexpected development threw Tang San's plans into disarray. Huo Yuhao's departure from Guangdong's side meant that even for Tang San as a god king, tracking him had become temporarily uncertain. It wasn't impossible for Tang San to find him, but the god of destruction was watching Huo Yuhao's every move now, blocking many of the special methods he might use. It left Tang San with a real headache. Chapter 169, Tang San's Doubts. How could this be a coincidence? Tang San's brows knit tightly. Just now, the Golden Dragon King, sealed within the forbidden land of the gods, began battering against the seal. As one of the enforcers of the entire god realm, Tang San had to go to the forbidden land personally to investigate. And it was precisely during that brief excursion that so many things changed in the lower realm. Huo Yuhao had slipped completely out of his control. He reminded himself that time flowed differently between realms. A day in the god realm equaled a year in the lower realm. Although Tang San had only gone to check on the seal, that span of time had been more than enough for events below to unfold. The feedback from his divine sense on the golden tree and on Guangdong had already given him a general picture. He had some idea why the Snow Empress had suddenly demonstrated such overwhelming power. After all, she was the first existence to evade his predictions, and some unexpected developments had been within the realm of possibility. As for why the Divine Sense clones posted on the Golden Tree and Guangdong hadn't intervened, that too was part of a rule he had set earlier. One clone was assigned to guard and transform the Golden Tree, the other to protect Guangdong, and unless either was under serious threat, they would not act on their own. The deeper Tang San thought about how far the plan had deviated, the grimmer his expression became. He had weathered countless storms before, though, and did not lose his composure. He calmed himself and began thinking through how to salvage the situation step by step. The god of destruction's constant watch over him, however, meant he had to keep many options in reserve. He could only proceed cautiously and adapt as events unfolded. Tang San must be very puzzled. When Lu Jingming received Mobius's report that Huo Yuhao had been taken by a powerful figure from the Holy Spirit cult, a playful glint appeared in his eyes, and his lips curled with anticipation. That golden dragon king is interesting. Even sealed, he can still accumulate strength. If he truly breaks free, it would probably take several god kings working together to handle him. He's far stronger than that little silver dragon. Black Tower tipped the witch hat she favored and regarded him with interest. Of course, he's stronger than Gu Yu. He inherited the dragon god's power. But Black Tower, how did you make him lash out at the seal like that? Lu Jingming cocked his head, curiosity evident. He was intrigued by whatever method Black Tower had used to force Tang San's hand and compel him to go to the Forbidden Land. It's simple. I fed him some Honkai energy to give him a nudge. Black Tower spoke casually, as if it were no more than a trifle. Lu Jingming hurried to check the Honkai energy he had accumulated, and his expression twitched. Leaving aside how Black Tower had slipped into the heavily guarded Forbidden Land. After all, with Thousand Realm, one ride at her disposal, she certainly had a way to do it. What bothered him was whether that could be called a little Honkai energy. The stores he had painstakingly gathered recently had suddenly dropped by more than half. Still, in the end, diverting Tang San's attention and disrupting his plans was worth the cost. Now that Huo Yuhao had been drawn into the Holy Spirit cult, Tang San's original plan had been entirely derailed. Lu Jingming also suspected that Huo Yuhao was no longer the same simple youth he had been. He involuntarily thought of the pseudo-Hersher gem he had once given to Mobius to screen suitable world serpent candidates, only to learn she had given that gem to Huo Yuhao. Given Mobius's nature, she did not give out equipment lightly. If she handed that gem to him, it almost certainly had been tampered with. There was bound to be a trap or secret within it. "Your Snow Empress is here." Black Tower spoke abruptly and waved a hand. The surrounding space folded and shimmered, and in an instant, Lu Jingming's figure vanished as if he had never been there. Outside a seaside villa on the cliff in Haiyuan City, the Snow Empress had been standing quietly, sensing Lu Jingming's aura. The moment he appeared, she fixed on him and unfolded her presence without hesitation, streaking like a white slash through the sky straight toward him. She had not been able to sense him inside Black Tower's lab earlier, because that place had spatial shielding that blocked external perception. "Lu Jingming, I need your help." Snow Empress landed precisely before him, her urgency plain in her eyes, no prelude, no beating around the bush. "It's about the Ice Empress, isn't it? Mobius told me. I can help reshape her physical body." Lu Jingming lowered his head and regarded the white orb of light Snow Empress cradled. Inside was the Ice Empress's pure spiritual origin. Because the Ice Empress had known Huo Yuhao only a short time, she hadn't formed a deep bond and had almost readily abandoned him when Snow Empress came. Huo Yuhao had at least not been entirely stripped. The Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion spirit and its spirit ring and spirit bone were still preserved on him. "Do whatever I ask," Snow Empress said, seeing that Lu Jingming did not instantly draw his white lance to begin the work. Though she would charge a price for aid, a twinge of reluctance nevertheless rose in her. "You misunderstand. Helping reshape the Ice Empress's physical body is just a matter of consuming some spirit power for me. It doesn't require payment. We're family, aren't we? But I do have a better suggestion." Lu Jingming smiled gently, sincere. With Black Abyss White Flower, he could easily handle the task. He wasn't petty or mercenary. "What is it?" Snow Empress, suddenly aware she had misjudged him, flushed faintly. The rare blush made her look less cold. Trying to cover her embarrassment, she forced herself to ask, "You've heard of Wan Zai Bing Su, the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow, right?" Lu Jingming, watching the faint color on her cheeks, kept his amusement to himself and answered softly, "Of course I've heard of it. It's a supreme ice treasure. Why do you ask?" Snow Empress frowned. She knew the marrow well. Wasn't it because that giant worm had eaten a large amount of it that it had easily broken through into a million-year spirit beast? Compared with using Black Abyss White Flower, if we use Wan Zai Xuan Bing Sui to rebuild the Ice Empress's body, it will be far more effective. She could recover to peak strength fastest. Of course, but Wan Zai Xuan Bing Sui, 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow, is rare. Even on the whole Douluo Continent, finding a single piece is difficult. Lu Jingming watched her reaction. Snow Empress could not hide her eagerness. If they truly had a large supply, the Ice Empress could take shape to near perfection, and Snow Empress herself would save immense time in condensing her god position and stepping into divinity. I know where there's a large supply, Lu Jingming said without keeping her in suspense. Really? Her usually cold, indifferent face brightened with excitement. If true, the implications were enormous. I wouldn't lie. Lu Jingming's expression turned serious. The stash was in the far north, on the outskirts of Dragon City in the Tianhun Empire, deep beneath the earth. Dragon Gate lay a large hoard of Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui. There were also many top-tier soul-guiding metals there, Ice Extreme Divine Crystal among them. The marrow would benefit not only Snow Empress and the Ice Empress, but Jingliu, Sanyuqi, Ganyu, and others. He had long planned to find a window of opportunity to retrieve it. When? I'll go now. Snow Empress's impatience showed in her words, a stark contrast to her usual aloofness. Don't rush. The site is already occupied. This needs planning. Lu Jingming shook his head. Although Snow Empress could likely seize the Earth Dragon Gate's marrow by force, he didn't want crude solutions. He had a better plan. Why worry? I can take it myself. I don't need you to show up. Whether it's Shrek Academy, the Body Sect, or the heart of the Stardew Great Forest, I can snatch it. After her single-handed suppression of Shrek Academy, Snow Empress was painfully aware of her own strength and spoke with absolute confidence. Listen. Lu Jingming fixed her with a calm, commanding look. The 3 words were brief but carried unquestionable authority. Snow Empress, for reasons she couldn't fully explain, felt a flutter of unease under that gaze. She averted her eyes, hesitated, then finally nodded and murmured, Okay. Don't worry. We'll get the Wanzai Xuanbing Sui. For now, I'll create a temporary body for the Ice Empress. Lu Jingming's face softened into its usual gentle smile when she complied. Snow Empress trusted him. She handed him the white orb containing the Ice Empress's spiritual origin without reservation. Chapter 170, Seizing Yang Souls, Scattering Yin Souls. The third watch has arrived. The Ice Empress stood frozen, mind blank with shock. She had never expected the person the Snow Empress had been seeking to be Lu Jingming. She knew of him. During the Soul Master competition, she had watched part of the events through Huo Yuhao's perspective, and Lu Jingming's performance had left a strong impression. But that wasn't what stunned her most. What truly unnerved her was the Snow Empress's attitude toward him. Just moments ago, the Snow Empress had been meek and obedient. Not a trace of the dominator of the extreme north's imperious bearing remained. Where was the proud, aloof majesty of that fearsome, vicious beast? That same Snow Empress, who had always been unapproachable and haughty, had instantly ceased resisting and obediently surrendered her spiritual origin at a single word from Lu Jingming. The Ice Empress wavered, wondering if she had slipped into a dream. Lu Jingming planted his pure white lance, white as snow, into the ground. Immediately, a pristine white domain spread out around him. In the soft, shimmering light, he began to reconstruct the Ice Empress's physical body. He had long ago analyzed the genetic blueprint of humans and thoroughly understood their anatomy. This was only a temporary physical shell. Perfection wasn't required. An ordinary human body would do. White creative power flowed, gently wrapping the Ice Empress's spiritual origin and methodically integrating with it. Lu Jingming carefully tuned the frequency of the power so the new body would be built around the Ice Empress's soul blueprint. If body and soul were mismatched, she would face all sorts of awkward and potentially dangerous problems. As spirit energy drained, a figure took shape in the dazzling light. Small, with soft curves, it gradually became distinct. Done. Lu Jingming eased the lance from the earth, and a flicker of fatigue crossed his face. Using the white flower to craft a physical body like this was exhausting. The light faded, and the Ice Empress's new form stood clearly before Lu Jingming and the Snow Empress. Lu Jingming's gaze shifted, and the Snow Empress's expression changed at the same instant. The Ice Empress blinked, feeling the unfamiliar shell of flesh. It was frail, worlds away from her once mighty form, but shockingly natural, as if it truly belonged to her. She had never imagined such a human spirit existed in this world, one capable of reshaping flesh so perfectly. Then she became aware of a chill and looked down in alarm. Bare feet. The new body had taken the form of a young girl, like her original transformed shape, and, more important, it had no clothes. She was a spirit beast, but she still had a sense of decency. Whenever she had assumed human form, before she had always summoned garments. She wasn't some uncultured animal. The Snow Empress shot Lu Jingming a helpless look, drew a white dress from storage, and draped it around the Ice Empress to cover what should not be exposed. The Ice Empress's figure was less imposing than the Snow Empress's, but she did have curves, more like a small apple, Lu Jingming thought with barely concealed amusement. Feeling the Ice Empress's fiery glare, he spread his hands in apology and said, "I can recreate the body. I can't make clothes." Angry fists clenched, but sensing how fragile the body was, left the Ice Empress cautious and somewhat subdued. She dared not risk using too much of her remaining power for fear of tearing the new body apart. Her desire to beat Lu Jingming senseless remained obvious, but she held back. Lu Jingming cleared his throat and turned to the Snow Empress. "You should let the Ice Empress rest. The new body needs time to adapt. In 2 days, I'll take you both to find the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui, the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow." The Ice Empress straightened her dress and watched Lu Jingming's retreating form, curiosity burning in her eyes. "Shuer, what is your relationship with him?" she asked the Snow Empress. She wanted to understand the strange shifts she'd seen lately, and the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui was a treasure both she and the Snow Empress coveted. Would he truly just hand it over? Relationship? He saved my life, I suppose. The Snow Empress hesitated, then chose to trust the Ice Empress, explaining in detail what had happened to her. In her current state, she trusted the Ice Empress enough. Besides, the Ice Empress was unlikely to escape now and would probably join the World Serpent. If the Snow Empress were to take the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui without any exchange, the Ice Empress would be wary. No one believed in free miracles. Joining the World Serpent, the Snow Empress argued, offered the chance to become a god, an opportunity only a fool would refuse. The Ice Empress, who had once gambled everything for survival and immortality with Huo Yuhao, found the offer sensible and saw no reason to refuse. Still, the Ice Empress felt something deeper in the Snow Empress's deference to Lu Jingming. It wasn't just gratitude for saving a life. Her pride was not so easily humbled, and which prideful, vicious beast would become so meek for a stranger? Lu Jingming glanced at the communication spirit tool and smiled faintly. He had originally planned to send the Snow Empress into the Earth Dragon Gate covertly to find the hidden entrance to the underground cave and steal the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui. The Earth Dragon Gate guarded that area, but lacked the strength to exploit it fully. They used the cold spring's pure energy only to temper their disciples' bodies, a waste of such natural wealth. But a message from Ji Yingying had altered his plans. Now he intended to enter the Earth Dragon Gate openly, claim the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui, and take the accompanying Ice Pole Divine Crystal Mine as well. He had no intention of leaving such a prize behind. Time moved on. In Mingdu of the Sun Moon Empire, within a secluded 3-story building, a brutal one-sided slaughter was underway. Several white impermanents from the Wu Chang division, dressed in white and wearing pale masks, moved like reapers through a group of black-robed figures, harvesting lives without mercy. Screams pierced the air, blood spattered, and life seemed precariously thin. How did the Wu Chang division find this place? "The holy cult won't let you go," a burly black-robed man roared, his spirit emperor-level power evident. As he shouted, his spirit rings flashed with light. Black flames licked his form, and accompanied by the cries of countless souls, his body twisted into a giant black skeleton. It lashed its massive claws through the air with an eerie, bone-chilling shriek. The white impermanents hesitated, their assault faltering for a moment. Futile resistance. Ji Yingying's voice was cold. With it, her Wu Chang lock wreathed in Yu Ming Huo, the netherworld fire, shot forward like lightning. The chain blade shimmered and sliced the black skeleton clean through. The netherworld fire consumed the broken form, reducing it to ash amid its mournful wails. The underworld does not accept wandering souls and wild ghosts. Go and be gone, Ji Yingying said, swinging her Wu Chang lock with frost in her expression. During her time in the Sun Moon Empire, she had tangled with many of these evil soul masters. Compared to mechanistic killers, the Holy Spirit cult's practitioners were particularly vile. torturing innocents, devouring souls. Ji Yingying gave them a quick, decisive death instead. One of the cultists, furious at the death of his brother, howled and ignited white flames across his body. Countless white vengeful spirits surged from him, sweeping toward Ji Yingying. With them came an instant drop in temperature, winter filling the chamber, and a chorus of disorienting, haunting wails. Seizing Yang souls, scattering Yin souls, the third watch has arrived. Ji Yingying called out calmly. Her netherworld fire flared violently around her, a form uniquely devastating to vengeful spirits, the bane of evil soul masters. The vengeful spirits wailed as the netherworld fire ravaged them. They dissipated under its merciless blaze. For those tormented souls, being scattered might be final release from endless torment. The cultist's face contorted with rage, and he produced a white banner threaded with the aura of vengeful spirits, the Holy Spirit cult's third elder's 7-level spirit tool, the Holy Spirit Banner. It disgorged a mass of imprisoned ghosts, a sky-covering tide of transparent, hideous faces. The chamber, chilled to ice and frost, crept across the floor. A suffocating, grim aura spread like a tangible fog. Ji Yingying's eyes narrowed. Dark red chains wrapped her forearms, netherworld fire burning along them. At the same time, 9 spirit rings glowed into being on her. The cultist went pale at the sight. "You Wuchang Douluo. How is this possible?" he gasped. The Wuchang division's legendary Douluo had been a terror to the Holy Spirit cult. Their impression of a Douluo's signature ring configuration, 5 black, 4 red, ran deep. Seeing 9 rings, though, was confirmation, even if he had never met Ji Yingying before. Netherworld fire, transform! Ji Yingying ignored his panic. Her body became a sphere of Yuming Huo. The fireball shot up and then exploded into a storm that swept the entire underground cavern. The netherworld fire torn through the army of vengeful spirits. Mournful faces shrieked as the flame burned their essence, and one by one they dissolved into nothingness. The Holy Spirit banner trembled under the onslaught. Its imprisoned ghosts were being incinerated. The cultist's face lost all color as the tool that had given him confidence cracked and splintered. When the fire subsided, Ji Yingying descended from the dissipating storm, her chains still glowing, the 9 spirit rings burning softly. Around her lay nothing but ash and the faint whispers of extinguished spirits. The Holy Spirit banner had been shattered. The remaining black-robed cultists knelt, broken and leaderless, as the invaders from the Wuchang division sealed the branch with ruthless efficiency. Ji Yingying walked among the ruins, cold and composed. The third watch had arrived, and the souls of the wicked had been seized and scattered. Chapter 171, Great Kindness Tree. King the Wuchang division had already retreated from the underground cavern by the time Ji Yingying released her spirit ring. They knew exactly how devastating Lord Yama's netherworld fire could be to souls, and to avoid any accidental harm, they had hidden themselves far away at the first sign. The netherworld fire turned the entire cavern into a sea of blue flames. The wails of the trapped wraiths rose and fell with it, making the place unbearably eerie, as if it had become a real abyss of hell. The violent fluctuation of power lasted only a dozen seconds before everything calmed. The blue flames slowly dissipated, leaving only silence. When the Wuchang division cautiously re-entered the chamber, only Ji Yingying remained standing in the vast space. Where the other evil soul masters had gone was self-evident. "Go, free your parents," Ji Yingying said, looking toward the entrance. A girl with long, pale pink hair stood there. Judging by appearance, she was 14 or 15, with healthy wheat-colored skin. She wasn't a breathtaking beauty, but her features were delicate, and she looked above average in every way. "Yes, Lord Yama," the girl cried, eyes bright with excitement, and darted back into the depths of the chamber. Her movements were confident and familiar. She knew this place well. From the inner darkness came the faint sound of her sobbing, quiet but threaded with the complex mix of sorrow and joy that comes from finding what you have mourned for years. She had found the souls of her parents, who had been cruelly imprisoned by the Holy Spirit cult. A few minutes later, she emerged. Her eyes were red and tear-streaked, the marks of the pain she had just endured plain on her face. She hurried to Ji Yingying, dropped to her knees with a heavy thud, and spoke in a hoarse, choked voice. "Thank you, Lord Yama, for helping me fulfill my wish. I am willing to join the Wuchang division and serve you like a beast of burden from now on, without complaint." Her name was Nana. Since childhood, she had been trapped in the Holy Spirit cult's schemes. To control her, the cult had cruelly imprisoned her parents' souls and used them to force her obedience. Helpless, she had been compelled to infiltrate the Sun Moon Royal Soul Engineer Academy as an undercover agent, gathering intelligence for the cult. But she never gave up on finding a way to free her parents' souls. She simply lacked the strength to confront the Holy Spirit cult directly. Wuchang Division found her and promised to help if she would lead them to the secret stronghold. Now she had watched the cult's subaltar, the place that had held her captive for years, collapse under Wuchang's attack, and she had personally seen her parents' souls freed. With that burden lifted, she decided to throw herself wholeheartedly into serving Ji Yingying and Wuchang Division, driven by hatred for the Holy Spirit cult for what they had done, and by deep gratitude to those who had rescued her. Very well. From now on, you will be a white impermanence of the Wuchang Division. Ji Yingying produced a white impermanence mask and handed it to Nana. Lu Jingming had already provided Nana's information, so no formal assessment was necessary. Her talent was solid. With time and careful training, she could become a titled Douluo. Her spirit was unique and well-suited to assassination, precisely the kind of missions Wuchang undertook. More important was her loyalty. She owed everything to Ji Yingying now. With a woman like her at Ji's side, Ji could have asked her to die on the spot, and she would have taken a blade without hesitation. Nana also brought Ji Yingying an important piece of intelligence. The Holy Spirit cult stronghold they had attacked had originally been personally guarded by the cult's third elder, a 9th-level soul instructor with the title Thunder Underworld. But the third elder had left Sun Moon Empire the day before, taking his men into Tianhun Empire and aiming at Dragon City. When Lu Jingming heard Ji Yingying's report, the third elder's information flashed through his mind. The third elder had, for a long time, been infatuated with Nan Shui, the sect leader of Earth Dragon Gate in Dragon City, hopelessly devoted in a way that matched no one's favor. Now he had made a move, taking the fourth elder and most of their followers to the area around Dragon City in Tianhun Empire. The obvious target was Nan Shui. Nan Shui was a formidable spirit Douluo. Her enamel dragon spirit possessed powerful annihilative power. With it she could trade blows with ordinary titled Douluo and was not to be underestimated. But up against Thunder Underworld and the Netherworld Douluo, the fourth elder, 2 titled Douluo-level evil soul masters, she faced a dire threat. If she left the protection of Dragon City, she would be in real danger. In truth, Thunder Underworld had long wanted to abduct Nan Shui, but the presence of the heavenly dragon Douluo of Tianlong Gate in Dragon City, an unfathomably powerful super Douluo, had kept him in check. The Holy Spirit cult itself had also been in a low-profile stage for some time, and the sect leader enforced strict limits on elder actions. Thunder Underworld had not dared to act recklessly, until now. Things had shifted. The cult had reached cooperative terms with Sun Moon Empire. Though still in a period of hibernation, they were less constrained than before. Many of Sun Moon Empire's powerhouses now knew of the cult's existence, and the sect leader's restrictions on the titled Douluo elders had relaxed. The elders had more freedom to move. It was for this reason Lu Jingming opposed the Snow Empress's idea of simply seizing the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui, 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow, by force. He planned instead to aid Earth Dragon Gate when Dragon City was in crisis, win them over with a life-saving hand, and make them indebted. That would make it far easier later to request the marrow and the Ice Extreme Divine Crystal Mine. He even considered the possibility of bringing Earth Dragon Gate under his sway. With the shifting balance, Dragon City would eventually fall to Sun Moon Empire. If Earth Dragon Gate wanted to survive, it would need a new home, and Haiyuan City might be ideal. Lu Jingming rejected crude thievery because, he reasoned, a good reputation carried farther than notoriety. The body sect, after all, was notorious across the continent, powerful but crude and off-putting. He did not want Haiyuan City to inherit that kind of image. Besides, this roundabout approach wouldn't cost much. With 2 high-level Holy Spirit cult elders to deal with, sending the Snow Empress and overwhelming them would be easy. He could secure the treasures, win Earth Dragon Gate's gratitude, and remove a threat to the people all at once, a plan that killed many birds with one stone. If I remember correctly, Lu Jingming said, lifting his right hand to the blood-colored holy mark on the back of his palm. Sunset Forest is near Dragon City. Those immortal herb in the ice and fire yin-yang well should do you some good, great merciful tree king. A soft, cultured voice answered. A figure in white had appeared behind him, long hair that faded from white into green, a delicate braid at the end, ears pointed like an elf's. She gave off a gentle, scholarly air. The essence of the world tree is not a biological tree, she said. It is a combination of knowledge, memory, and wisdom. The power of life springs from that. Lu Jingming turned to the woman and analyzed aloud. As the incarnation of the world tree, if you absorb those immortal herb, you should be able to acquire their unique abilities and at the same time enhance the power of your holy mark. The immortal herb in the ice and fire yin-yang. While each possessed miraculous effects, they were spiritual entities between heaven and earth, a kind of plant-type spirit beast with their own wisdom. To the woman known as the Great Merciful Tree King, the power of those immortal herb would be pure nourishment, memories, powers, and life energy she could assimilate to strengthen the World Tree Holy Mark. Chapter 172, Thunder and Lightning. According to you, they already possess their own consciousness. If possible, I don't want to do that. The Great Merciful Tree King sighed softly, reluctance in her eyes. As the benevolent ruler of 1,000 trees, the first grass god who governed life, dreams, and wisdom, she could not accept Lu Jingming's plan to devour other sentient plant lives to strengthen his stigmata. I can preserve their seeds and memories, allow them to become new dependents of the god of life. Lu Jingming had clearly anticipated the Tree King's compassion and had prepared a compromise. That's the only way, he said. The elf elder with white-green gradient hair exhaled helplessly. Resigned, but knowing she could not stop him, she kept silent. Lu Jingming was at least willing to give those immortal herbs a chance at continued existence, and perhaps even the chance to ascend as dependents of a new god of life. That was already generous. Though benevolent, the Tree King was not a pedant. She let it go. Boor, long time no see. I didn't expect we'd meet again. The stigmata on Lu Jingming's left hand flared, lightning arcing across his palm. With the strike of light, a purple-haired woman appeared beside him, clad in a purple and white kimono and holding an oil paper umbrella. She smiled gently at the Great Merciful Tree King, as if greeting an old friend. Bale, yes, I also didn't expect to meet again under these circumstances. The Great Merciful Tree King returned the smile, emotion in her face. Though both had long since passed and had even been forgotten by the world, Lu Jingming's power had revived them and reunited them. We have to thank little Jingming for this. He gave us new life. Lady and Jen looked at Lu Jingming with warm gratitude. Without him, she would neither have been reborn nor reunited with old acquaintances. She saw not only the Great Merciful Tree King, but Ye Miko as well, and she admitted, if Ying could be here too, she would be happier. A tiny greed shone in her eyes. Don't worry, Zhen. I'll do my best to make all your wishes come true. Lu Jingming narrowed his eyes and smiled, seeing through her deepest thoughts. He, too, was curious about the legendary, milk-scented blade and wanted to witness it in person. You're so kind to me. I don't know how to thank you. How about this? I'll marry Ying to you. Lady and Jen covered her mouth and chuckled, a sly light in her eyes. How much of her teasing was serious? I'd like to accept, but I'd probably be chopped up. Lu Jingming shrugged helplessly. For that stubborn homebound girl, short of conquering her by force, perhaps tempting her with delicious Sanshoku dango might work. Their banter made the atmosphere between the three warm and easy. Having only just awakened, the Tree King and Lady and Jen found everything in this new world strange and unfamiliar. Lu Jingming introduced them to the new world and recounted events from Inazuma and Sumeru. Though they had been reborn elsewhere, their hearts still belonged to those places, so the conversation flowed easily. Lady and Jen's lay spirit stigmata contained the authority of lightning, destruction, and time, highly compatible with Lu Jingming's Black Abyss spirit. The world tree stigmata of the Great Merciful Tree King held dominion over life, wisdom, and dreams, harmonizing with his white flower spirit. With these two stigmata, Lu Jingming felt he had enough. He had no plans to manifest a third in the near future. With two beings who had once stood at the height of godhood supporting him, he wouldn't need to strain to condense a god position. The Tree King and Lady Zhen would devote themselves to helping him. All he had to provide was resources, luck, or massive power of faith. Resources were not a problem. Luck could be managed in other ways, but power of faith was hard to obtain. Ever since the Spirit Hall's fall 10,000 years ago, most of the power of faith on the Douluo Continent had converged on sea god Tangsan. Still, Lu Jingming wasn't worried. He hadn't even broken through to Spirit Emperor yet. There was plenty of time before condensing a god position. There was no need to rush. 2 days passed. You want me to go to Tianhun Empire with you? For what? Gu Yue peered at Lu Jingming with a puzzled look. She couldn't understand why he'd suddenly invited her. She had planned to return to Star Do Great Forest. Diqian had sent an urgent message saying the auspicious beast seemed off and wanted her to check on it. Since the Soul Master competition ended, as S-level students of Shrek Academy, they enjoyed freedom. Staying at the academy offered little more worth learning. Each of them was already powerful, and their paths largely set. Little San Yue and Lu Ying had followed Robin to help the weak and travel the continent. Xia Dai, given her power's nature, stayed at St. Freya Academy to create under pen names and torment countless readers. Jinxi remained in Haiyuan City, managing the flourishing city with Changli. Everyone had their own lives and couldn't constantly stick by Lu Jingming. He was fine with that. It was better this way. They had plenty of time. It's for something good. Don't ask so many questions. You'll see once you come with me. Lu Jingming only smiled and took Gu Yue's hand. Hey! Gu Yue bristled a little. She didn't like vague plans, but she didn't pull away. She figured the auspicious beast could wait a little longer. Not long after, Lu Jingming fetched Snow Empress and Ice Emperor. Over the past 2 days, Ice Emperor had grown accustomed to her new body. She and Snow Empress had played freely in Haiyuan City, enjoying their newfound freedom. The time has come. Let's go. Lu Jingming looked to the group and ordered their departure. This time he only brought Gu Yue, Ice Emperor, and Snow Empress. It wasn't that he trusted Snow Empress blindly, but because Herta controlled Thousand Realm, one ride. No matter where or when, Herta could project Jinglu to his side through Thousand Realm, one ride. Within the Douluo Continent, almost no one could bypass Herta and Jinglu to threaten him fatally. If danger appeared, he could call for backup. In this era, calling reinforcements had become as important as fighting. Gu Yu unfolded her flying spirit tool and hovered beside Lu Jingming. During the flight, she kept glancing at Snow Empress and Ice Emperor, a puzzled expression growing. As co-lord of spirit beasts, she recognized the true identities of those two far north beasts at a glance, but couldn't understand how they had come to be with Lu Jingming. Snow Empress and Ice Emperor, for their part, did not recognize Gu Yue. They had heard rumor of a mysterious being in Star Do Great Forest, stronger even than Diqian, but they had never seen her, so they couldn't link the woman beside Lu Jingming to that legend. Sunset Forest lies northeast of Heaven Do City in Tianhun Empire, not far from Dragon City and the Arctic Ice Field, on the border between Tianhun and dueling empires. Because of its northern location, the climate is much colder than Star Do Great Forest. Stepping into Sunset Forest, one finds northern temperate flora arranged in orderly clusters. Unlike the dense, humid growth of Star Do Great Forest, Sunset Forest is cool and refreshing. A gentle breeze brings crisp air that clears the mind. 10,000 years had worn Sunset Forest down. Once one of the continent's major spirit beast gathering grounds, it had been teeming with species in numbers, overflowing with life. Now, however, its area and spirit beast population have contracted sharply. It's become a small gathering place at best. Among the causes for decline, rampant poisonous miasma devastated spirit beast habitats, causing widespread death by poisoning. Over time, the core area of Sunset Forest had even turned into a desolate, deadly, forbidden zone. Human hunting over the past 10,000 years had further eroded its ecology. Under humanity's greed, the living space for high-rank spirit beasts had been compressed. Today, traces of 10,000-year spirit beasts are hard to find. For the Earth Dragon Gate Party seeking their 4th spirit ring, Sunset Forest's current state was actually convenient. Sect leader, didn't I hear a stigmata recently appeared that lets you get a spirit ring without hunting spirit beasts? Why don't we go buy one? A young girl with long black hair asked the pink-haired woman beside her, eyes bright with curiosity. Yeah, Mom. Why don't we buy a stigmata? I heard you can even customize them. Do you think there'll be an enamel dragon stigmata? I really want one. Another young girl with pink hair chimed in. Though young, she was already shapely, and the topic of stigmata set her eyes alight with eager curiosity. Nan Shui Shui smiled gently and patted Tian Tian and Nan Chu Chu's heads affectionately. A plump-faced, adorable black-haired girl nearby added, Sect leader probably wants to wait and see, right? Stigmata are new. No one knows what side effects they might have. Better to be cautious. What side effects could there be? I heard the 3 great empires and Shrek Academy are involved, so it should be safe, right? Nan Chu Chu waved away the concern. I even heard Tianlong Gate bought a few hundred-year stigmata from Kunyu Pavilion. Should we try them too? Those few hundred-year stigmata Tianlong Gate bought were for their ordinary disciples. Core disciples like Yu Tianlong haven't used them. Shu Shenshu, a tall, dark-skinned man, said honestly, scratching his head. Shu Shenshu, you idiot! Who told you to undermine us? Nan Chu Chu and Tian Tian glared at him in unison. Their fierce expressions sent Shu Shenshu stumbling back a few steps, clearly conditioned to fear their scolds. Xiao Ye and Feng Zhu, trailing behind, looked at him as if he were a fool. How dare he contradict Big Sister? This was going to be entertaining. In this small Earth Dragon Gate team, though they were fellow disciples, the lively, mischievous Nan Chu Chu ruled the roost. The boys were entirely subdued and content with it. Lady and Jen watched the lively group from a short distance, a soft smile playing on her lips as she observed the human world's curious, noisy energy. Chapter 173, The White Moonlight and the Lick. You lot! Nan Shui 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 shook her head with an indulgent smile, her eyes full of fondness. She spoke patiently. It's not that I doubt the Saint grade. After all, the 3 great empires and Shrek Academy are involved. From what we know now, there shouldn't be any major problems. Still, the more Saint grades you can fuse, the better. The trick is to find the one that fits you. 100,000-year Saint grade is out of the question. It's far too precious. A 10,000-year Saint grade is also valuable, but our Earth Dragon Gate can afford it. Once you break through to the Spirit King realm, I'll arrange suitable 10,000-year ones for you. Nan Shui Shui had clearly done her homework about Saint grades. She knew there was a limit to how many one could fuse, and the older the Saint grade, the better its effects. Saint grades had only recently appeared on the continent and were extremely scarce. Even ordering one in advance meant a long wait. Nan Chu Chu and the others urgently needed spirit rings to grow stronger. They couldn't wait for custom-made Saint grades. That was why Nan Shui Shui had taken her disciples into Sunset Forest to hunt spirits. Sunset Forest, though depleted over the years, bordered Dragon City. The Earth Dragon Gate had long ago mapped out the habitats of many spirit beasts through years of exploration. Under Nan Shui Shui's lead, the group quickly located a 5,000-year saber-toothed Earth Dragon hiding in a remote corner of the woods. Most Earth Dragon Gate disciples carried Earth Dragon spirits, so they paid special attention to any Earth Dragon spirit beasts. This particular saber-toothed Earth Dragon had been under observation for some time. Until now, they had chosen not to hunt it. For those disciples, absorbing the spirit ring of an Earth Dragon with an Earth Dragon spirit would be ideal. A true dragon spirit ring would be even better, but true dragons were essentially extinct on the Douluo Continent. Most remaining dragons were sub-dragon species. Thus, this saber-toothed Earth Dragon was a perfect match for almost all the Earth Dragon Gate disciples, including the young sect leader, Nan Chu Chu. After discussion, Nan Chu Chu and the others decided to let the big, dark-skinned Shu Shenshu have this one. His spirit was precisely the saber-toothed Earth Dragon. Nan Shui Shui herself struck first, and the fight was over quickly. The dragon had no means to resist her strength and was soon grievously wounded. Shu Shenshu delivered the killing blow. The saber-toothed Earth Dragon died in his hands. He sat down and began to concentrate on absorbing his 4th spirit ring, while Nan Chu Chu and the others formed a protective circle around him. At that moment, the forest fell unnaturally silent, the usual insect chorus reduced to a faint whisper. Nan Shui frowned, rose on reflex, and scanned the darker part of the woods with sharp, alert eyes. She had sensed an unfamiliar chi approaching. "Who's there? Come out," she called, her voice carrying through the stillness. Nan Chu and the others sprang to their feet, immediately on guard. They were young, but they had been schooled in sect discipline. They knew that in the wild, a spirit beast wasn't always the only danger. A low, slightly hoarse chuckle slipped from the shadows. Then figures in black robes, like specters, emerged from all directions, surrounding the Earth Dragon Gate group in an instant. "Who are you?" Nan Shui's expression hardened. These were unwelcome guests with obvious ill intent. The Earth Dragon Gate had enemies, but these black-robed figures were not the usual sort. "Mom, what should we do?" Nan Chu and the others sounded nervous. Shu Shen Shu was in the middle of absorbing his spirit ring and couldn't be disturbed. The situation looked bad. "Old acquaintances meeting. No need to be so tense. I won't hurt you," said a leading black-robed man, slowly pushing back his hood. His face was pale and sullen, and his eyes locked on Nan Shui with a twisted nostalgia and an almost deranged obsession. "It's you? You're not dead?" Nan Shui's confusion flipped instantly into shock. She recognized him, one of the many suitors from her past. He had left Dragon City heartbroken after being rejected, and she had assumed he had died long ago. "Dead? Why would I die? I want to be with you forever, never apart," he breathed. The man, third elder, looked at her with fanatical devotion. Time had not dimmed his obsession. If anything, it had warped it into something more dangerous. In his eyes, Nan Shui was still a goddess, now somehow more beautiful with a mature charm he found irresistible. He wanted to bind her to himself and make his insane dream of being together forever a reality. "You, now?" Nan Shui shivered. She never had feelings for him. Her husband was gone. Her life was about raising her daughter and strengthening the Earth Dragon Gate, not finding another partner. Worse, the third elder emanated a malignant aura, and his gaze unnerved her. "Seize them alive. Kill one of them, and you all die with them," third elder ordered without emotion. Though he had degenerated into an evil soulmaster, he still had enough calculation to avoid outright suicide. He knew Nan Shui would never come willingly. In his twisted love, consent wasn't necessary. Capturing her was what mattered. He didn't intend to kill her. He wanted her by his side. The other disciples, however, were expendable. At his command, the black-robed figures flared with spirit rings. Most were 5-ring spirit kings, and several were spirit emperor-level experts. As a Jujun Daoshi, 9th-level soul instructor, third elder could have called on evil soul masters above spirit saint level, but this raid was a personal venture. He'd only brought subordinates from his branch. The sheer force of numbers made Nan Shui's face grow grim. She immediately released her own spirit power. A dazzling pink light accompanied the release, and a gigantic enamel dragon phantom slowly coalesced behind her. Pink scales rippled across her arms and exposed skin, and a pair of delicate pink horns sprouted from her forehead. 8 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 4 black, glowed in sequence across her body. As one ring flared, a dense ball of pink annihilation light formed in the mouth of the dragon phantom and hurtled toward third elder like a brilliant comet. Nan Shui understood the principle of catch the king to catch the pawns. Outnumbered, she decided to concentrate her strike on third elder first, but she misjudged his current strength. Just as her annihilation light was about to strike, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black spirit rings, 9 in total, appeared on third elder's body in a flash. A purple-black soul conductor shield materialized before him, steadfastly blocking the attack. Titled Douluo, Nan Shui's eyes widened in disbelief. She knew his aptitude and talent well. By all rights, he could not have advanced to title Douluo on his own. "Heh!" Third elder laughed low and cruel, a mix of smugness and madness in his tone. In pursuit of power, he had sacrificed everything, even the most basic functions of a man, so that one day Nan Shui might see him differently. Now he had become a titled Douluo, and her shocked face gave him a perverse gratification that warmed him from within. Enamel annihilation blast. Nan Shui snapped back to focus. She would not surrender. Facing the black-robed evil soul masters closing in from all sides, she let her spirit surge and unleashed countless pink orbs that swept outward like rain. Each orb detonated as it neared a target, and the explosions rocked the forest. Boom, boom, boom. Violent blasts sent earth and stones flying. Smoke and dust filled the air. More than a dozen black-robed figures were hurled backward like kites cut loose, falling hard to the ground. Fourth Elder. Third Elder's gaze shifted to a man beside him. Sigh, Third Brother, is this worth doing for a woman? What if the cult leader blames us? Fourth Elder reluctantly threw back his hood, worry etched across his face. He had opposed this ambush from the start. The Holy Spirit cult had always hidden its existence. Such an exposed operation was likely to leak information. Yet Fourth Elder had a close personal bond with Third Elder and found it difficult to stand in his way. Though he had tried to dissuade him, he failed and followed him into Sunset Forest to set the trap. Don't worry, if the cult leader blames us, I'll take responsibility. I'm a Juji Hundaoshi. At most, I'll get punished. Bringing her back will be worth it, Third Elder said. He had anticipated the consequences. As a titled Douluo and a 9th-level soul instructor, even if the operation led to exposure, the cult leader would be unlikely to abandon someone of his value. Within the Holy Spirit cult, a titled Douluo is a top-tier warrior, and someone with advanced soul conductor mastery, like him, was even more valuable. Besides, recent clashes in Mingdu with the Wuchang division had already put high-ranking members on edge. The cult's information blockade had loosened. Great Merciful Tree King. Chapter 174, A Handsome Rescue. After the Third Elder gave his promise, the Fourth Elder dropped all restraint. A dark green longsword coalesced in his hand, and 9 spirit rings flashed, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black. He moved like lightning. The dark green blade of spirit light tore through the air, aimed straight at Nan Shui. Nan Shui's heart sank. Facing 2 titled Douluo, even with the strength of her enamel dragon spirit, she stood no chance. Surrender was out of the question. She gritted her teeth and released another spirit ability. Pink light condensed and instantly formed a pink enamel annihilation sword. She tightened her grip and slashed at the dark green sword light. Sword lights met, and spirit power exploded outward. Pink and black afterimages blurred as the shock uprooted trees across Sunset Forest. Dragon roars and sword cries mingled with repeated detonations. Sword lights and beams intertwined while resentful souls howled. The forest, which had been quiet before, suddenly became a cacophony. Nan Shui was locked in a brutal duel. Nan Chu and the others were in no better shape. They guarded Shu Shen Shu while desperately resisting the evil soul master's assaults. The attackers had been careful not to kill, especially avoiding Shu Shen Shu, who was absorbing a spirit ring. They seemed afraid that interrupting that process would kill him and bring down the Third Elder's wrath. Through the fight, the Earth Dragon Gate members recognized their foes, black-robed figures, the infamous evil soul masters. Their spirit abilities and the characteristics of their spirits gave them away. Attacks steeped in bloody chi, endless wails of resentful souls. There could be no mistaking them. Recognition deepened despair. Falling into the hands of evil soul masters offered no hope. Even if the enemies spared them now, nothing guaranteed the mercy would last. Nan Shui grew frantic watching Nan Chu and the others besieged. Her attacks became more desperate. The Fourth Elder, though, remained composed, steadily parrying. He knew of the Third Elder's obsession with Nan Shui and dared not harm her. His plan was to wear down her spirit power and capture her alive. He had the strength to do it. While Nan Shui could hold against an ordinary, titled duo briefly, the Fourth Elder was an evil soul master, far from ordinary. The pink annihilation hand crushed the resentful souls that surged forward. Nan Shui felt a deep sting of regret. If she had brought a few more elders, they might not be in this dire place. But who could have foreseen encountering evil soul masters in Sunset Forest? A spirit Douluo coming to hunt a 1,000-year spirit beast was itself overkill. Why prepare for an ambush meant for a spirit saint? Nan Chu, Song Qian, Xiao Ye, and Feng Jue formed a defensive ring and managed to repel a wave of attacks, but they were exhausted. If the attackers had wanted to kill them outright, they would have fallen long ago. Even so, their spirit power was nearly gone. What do we do, big sister? Xiao Ye and Feng Jue panted, leaning back to back. Both boys had been at the front. Their spirit power was drained, and their bodies bore injuries. How would I know? Nan Chu ground her teeth. We're done for. If we die, we'll drag at least one of them down with us. The gap in strength was too wide. The enemies had barely been scratched and were systematically bleeding the Earth Dragon Gate members out. The legends of the evil soul masters, of capture and torment, pressed on her mind. Being taken alive by them was worse than dying quickly. Nan Chu had never fallen in love, hadn't yet bested nuisances like Yu Tianlong, and had not led Earth Dragon Gate to surpass Tianlong Gate. She couldn't accept such an end. Being captured by evil soul masters is terrifying. Song Chan's pallid face matched her words. Everyone knew their reputation. Parents used evil soul masters as bogeymen to scare children. Given the way these black-robed figures moved and the spirits they wielded, capture meant a grim fate. Better to die than endure endless torture. Don't give them a chance to breathe. Go! An evil spirit emperor with a scythe barked. 5 or 6 figures lunged at Nan Chu and the others. It's over. Despair colored Nan Chu's voice. Her spirit power was nearly spent. She couldn't use a single spirit ability. The enamel dragon spirit was weak at close combat. Without spirit support, they had almost no means to resist. At that moment, a sharp whoosh cut through the air. A black long spear streaked down wrapped in black and red electric arcs, plunging into the ground to block the attacker's path. Lightning flared from the spear, engulfing the evil soul masters. Several shrill screams rang out as some were reduced to ashes by decomposition lightning. One luckier enemy lost only an arm. It vanished under the lightning's bite before he could retreat. Boom! Someone crashed down, creating a heavy impact crater and sending dust billowing. As the dust cleared, Nan Chu and the others saw a handsome young man, white hair, red eyes, a long spear in hand. So handsome, someone breathed. Gu Yu landed lightly beside him, wrapped in a faint green breeze. Hero saves the beauty? Too cliché, don't you think? She said in a cool voice. Lu Jingming's mouth twitched. He'd only done a dramatic rescue, and Gu Yue was teasing him. The third elder's brow tightened. With his titled Douluo senses, he hadn't detected anyone approaching, an oddity he noticed immediately. He looked up and saw the Snow Empress hovering hundreds of meters above, the Ice Empress beside her. Nan Shui and the fourth elder noticed the change too. Attack! Kill them! The third elder ordered without hesitation. He had been monitoring the Earth Dragon Gate and made sure Lu Jingming and Gu Ye weren't allies. There was no need for mercy. Finish them before more uninvited guests could arrive. Yes, Lord Third Elder. The leading evil spirit emperors grinned cruelly and vanished into afterimages, charging like wolves. They had been suppressing their bloodlust for some time and now could hardly contain it. Die, kid! Who told you to meddle? The scythe-wielding evil spirit emperor roared, his weapon slick with a nauseating bloody chi. Be careful! Nan Chu cried out. A black spear light flashed. It shot through the scythe-wielder's throat and pinned him to the spear tip. Oh, I did meddle. So what? Lu Jingming's face was indifferent. He flicked the spear and black electric arcs crawled outward, instantly decomposing the scythe-wielding evil spirit emperor into nothingness. Lu Jingming's stare swept the remaining evil spirit emperors. Blue electric arcs danced over his body. With a thunderous crash, he had already moved to the center of their formation. Eternal Tribulation Corridor, he shouted. The spear slammed into the ground. The second spirit ring flared, and a black tide of light surged outward, swallowing tens of meters of the battlefield and turning it into a pitch-black domain. Almost half of the evil soul masters were caught inside. No! Ah! Those within the black light screamed as their bodies, souls, and spirit power began to decompose. Spirit King rank evil soul masters felt their forms break apart instantly and vanished after a single scream. Spirit Emperor rank members, though stronger, could only watch in helpless agony as decomposition ate them alive, their screams high and prolonged. Guye watched the one-sided slaughter and shook her head slightly. This wasn't the Soul Master competition. Lu Jingming had long restrained himself in the arena to avoid killing. Here, facing notorious evil soul masters, there was no need for restraint. His full lethality was unleashed, and to the unleashed Lu Jingming, a group of evil soul masters, be they spirit emperors or spirit kings, were no more than ants. Chapter 175, The Third Elder's Fury. "You're courting death," the third elder growled as Lu Jingming casually slaughtered most of his subordinates. The elder's face twisted with fury. As an evil soul master, he cared little for the lives of those under him. There was no loyalty among such wicked disciples, but he still had to be prudent. Too many casualties, and the cult master would hold him accountable. "Nethercorp's lightning," the third elder bellowed. His first spirit ring flashed, and an eerie gray-black glow wreathed his form. He jabbed a finger at Lu Jingming and fired a gray-black lightning bolt wrapped in ghostly green light like a laser. Lu Jingming's expression remained calm. His black spear thrust out in an instant, black and red lightning crackling at the tip, and it struck the gray-black beam dead center. Boom! Lightning exploded, shockwaves roaring outward. A nauseating tide of green corpse chi drifted toward Lu Jingming, leaving a putrid stench in its wake, until a burst of purple lightning erupted from Lu Jingming and instantly annihilated the corpse chi. He didn't stop there. Extending his left hand, Lu Jingming unleashed his 100,000-year soul bone ability, kingship. Space began to warp and collapse. A terrifying gravitational force descended from nowhere, crushing the third elder. His legs gave out, and he dropped to his knees. Blood welled at the corner of his mouth as his internal organs compressed under the sudden pressure. The third elder lifted his head, eyes bloodshot and burning with murderous intent, his spirit power flaring like solidified flame to resist the crushing gravity. "I'll extract your soul and burn it as an oil lamp for 100 years, he roared. Being forced to kneel and spit blood before a spirit king humiliated him beyond measure. Gray-black lightning coiled around him as he gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand. Kingship was a 100,000-year ability. The gap in spirit power was obvious. Aside from the shock that had forced him to his knees and injured his internals, the third elder knew the Soul King's ability could not truly dominate a titled Douluo. Lu Jingming merely chuckled. He had never expected a single soul bone ability to wholly suppress a titled Douluo. The fact that he had made the third elder kneel and damaged his organs was more than he'd hoped for, a rare stroke of fortune. If news spread that a spirit king had wounded a titled Douluo, few on the Douluo Continent would believe it. The stunned expressions on Nan Chuchu and the others made that clear. Even Nan Shui and the fourth elder, locked in their own fierce struggle, froze for a moment, unable to continue. Demonic skull 7 stars. The third elder's fury peaked, his fourth spirit ring flared with blinding light. 7 heads condensed from green lightning beside him with a bone-chilling howl. The heads looked savagely alive, each emanating an evil aura, and they lunged at Lu Jingming like ravenous wolves. Lu Jingming stayed composed. He swung his spear, black light condensed at the tip, forming 7 solid-seeming beams that shot at the 7 green heads with sharp whistles. The black beams pierced them through. The withering force in those beams decomposed the spirit power of the green heads completely. Deprived of their spirit, the green lightning heads disintegrated like bubbles into motes of light. Everyone stared in disbelief. The fourth elder, Nan Shui, and the rest looked incredulous. The third elder's fourth spirit ability had been shattered by a spirit king. "This is impossible," the third elder roared. He could not accept it. He knew his own fourth ability better than anyone. How could this mere spirit king do this to him? His mind churned with confusion and rage. "This is annihilation-like power, but stronger," Nan Shui muttered, eyes narrowed as she examined the traces left by the black light. The Earth Dragon Gate's annihilation could nullify and weaken spirit power, but it was worlds away from what Lu Jingming had just displayed. For a spirit king to so cleanly decompose the spirit power of a titled Douluo was unheard of. A titled Douluo's spirit power had undergone multiple transformations and had been condensed by the soul core. It was extremely intense. Even Nan Shui, a spirit Douluo, had struggled to directly annihilate the fourth elder's spirit abilities. Yet Lu Jingming's decomposition was overwhelming. Even the heavily reinforced spirit power of a titled Douluo had not resisted it. Whether or not Lu Jingming could ultimately defeat a titled Douluo, he had at least pierced their spirit defenses and earned the right to wound them, a rare feat on the Douluo Continent. "Good, very good. How about this? Ferocious whip nether lightning. The third elder's rage swallowed all reason. His sixth spirit ring flared black. To deal with a spirit king, he unleashed his sixth spirit ability, an enormous humiliation for any titled Douluo to expend at that level. He cracked a gray-purple lightning whip out, and dark clouds swelled above as countless specters surged from the gloom, shrieking mournfully. Space itself cracked and hissed. The air smelled sharp, like irradiated ozone. The whip, accompanied by streams of gray-purple lightning and spectral wails, whipped toward Lu Jingming, laying waste wherever it passed. The blow's range was huge. The Earth Dragon Gate members were swept up in it. Lu Jingming frowned. He might be able to handle the strike himself, but Nan Chu Chu and the others were defenseless. If the whip hit, they would die, and that would ruin his plan. Snow Empress. Lu Jingming cut in without hesitation. To fight a titled Douluo now was premature. His earlier success, making the Third Elder kneel and breaking one of his spirit abilities, had depended on surprise and the Third Elder's unfamiliarity with him. The whip was different. The Third Elder poured more and more spirit power into it, and its potency kept climbing. Even if Lu Jingming tried to decompose it as before, the cost in spirit power would be enormous, and if he failed, the blow would land, and he would be severely injured. A titled Douluo's full-force attack was not something a spirit king could easily withstand. The Snow Empress appeared like a pale specter before Lu Jingming in an instant. Every movement was grace and cold nobility. She extended a finger and pointed. A terrifying cold surged out and froze the descending whip in place. The cold spread rapidly down the whip and toward the Third Elder. The Third Elder's pupils contracted. Fear shot through him. Realizing something in a flash, he cut off the spirit power feeding the whip and abandoned it, retreating like a struck bolt of lightning. "Fourth Elder, run!" he shouted, his voice raw with terror. Then he transformed into a streak and fled for the forest depths. The Fourth Elder dared not linger. He forced Nan Shui Shui back with a swing of his long sword, burned all the vengeful souls in his Nether Sword Spirit's spatial dimension, and turned into a green sword light. With a deafening boom, he streaked away like a meteor. "Humph!" The Snow Empress snorted coldly, disdain ringing in her voice. Letting two evil soul masters slip from under her nose would be an intolerable blot on her face as the ruler of the far north. She lifted her hands, and a surge of cold chi swept out. A brutal storm centered on her. Everything it touched froze into ice sculptures. Within an instant, several miles were sealed in ice. The world felt like a vast ice cellar. The Third and Fourth Elders were frozen in place, unable to move. The only place the cold storm did not touch was the ground where Lu Jingming and his companions stood. Proof of the Snow Empress's exquisite control over cold chi. She was indeed favored by the world of ice and snow. Nan Chu Chu and the others stared in stunned silence, eyes wide. Nan Shui Shui and the fleeing Fourth Elder were shaken. Even as they escaped, they had to acknowledge the Snow Empress's overwhelming might. Lu Jingming exhaled slowly, relieved but wary. This exchange had only just begun, and the danger of provoking a bazaar. Titled Douluo remained very real. Chapter 176, Jealous Guyue. This... Nan Shui Shui couldn't help but gasp, her pupils shrinking sharply. Two titled Douluo-level evil soul masters had been rendered utterly helpless by the Snow Empress, frozen solid in an instant. Such terrifying power was beyond her comprehension and filled her with shock and awe. "I am Nan Shui Shui, sect leader of the Earth Dragon Gate. Today, thanks to the timely rescue by several benefactors, your great kindness will never be forgotten." Nan Shui Shui floated down quickly, her expression respectful and her manner unusually humble. Her gratitude was genuine. Moments ago, the situation had been dire. If Lu Jingming and the others hadn't arrived, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Sect leader Nan is too polite. Evil soul masters commit many atrocities across the continent, and anyone has the right to kill them. Besides, we originally came for the Earth Dragon Gate, Lu Jingming said calmly, waving a hand. He had been planning to earn a favor from the Earth Dragon Gate so he could formally request the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui, 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow buried beneath the sect. Still, if evil soul masters were perpetrating evil and he could stop them, he wouldn't stand aside. "Came for the Earth Dragon Gate?" Nan Shui Shui hesitated, surprise in her eyes. She didn't recognize Lu Jingming and his companions and had no idea of their true purpose. That said, she was grateful. Take the third elder, for instance. Though infatuated with her, if he had captured her, her fate would have been grim: death, imprisonment, or lifelong loss of freedom. The Earth Dragon Gate also possessed an ancestral physiognomy technique that could judge a person's character to some degree by their facial features. It wasn't infallible, but after observing Lu Jingming, she felt he bore no major malice, which gave her some trust in him. This isn't a good place for a detailed discussion. Let's find somewhere else to talk, Lu Jingming said, glancing around at the completely icebound forest, a dead, silent place. Very well. Then please follow me back to the Earth Dragon Gate so we may fulfill our duties as hosts and properly entertain you. Nan Shui nodded. After such a harrowing encounter, none of her people wanted to continue hunting spirit rings. The ambush in the Sunset Forest suggested premeditation and likely meant informants within Dragon City. Those dangers had to be dealt with. Among the evil soul masters who had ambushed the Earth Dragon Gate, all but the third and fourth elders were either slain by Lu Jingming or frozen by the Snow Empress's cold chi. The third and fourth elders, both titled Douluo level, had been spared. Lu Jingming had no intention of killing them outright. To him, they were valuable specimens. Bringing them back for Yegi as training fodder or handing them over to Mobius for research would be far more useful than a quick death. The Snow Empress agreed, so she used a special spirit tool to contain them. The device was designed to hold living beings and preserve vital signs for a time. Hello. Thank you so much just now. I'm Nan Chu, young lord of the Earth Dragon Gate, Nan Chu said, cheeks flushed as she shyly stepped forward to speak to Lu Jingming. It was nothing, just a small thing. I'm Lu Jingming, from Haiyuan City in the Star Luo Empire, he replied with a smile, his gaze gentle. For some reason, Nan Chu's look reminded him faintly of Meng Hongchen's, less bold and direct, more tender and bashful. Haiyuan City? That sounds familiar. Ah, it hosted this year's Soul Master competition? Right? I heard many legacies spread from there. She tapped her lips and tilted her head, then her eyes brightened when she remembered. Her demeanor was unexpectedly cute. Yes, that's right. I didn't expect Haiyuan City's reputation to have reached Dragon City. Lu Jingming smiled. He was pleased. The more famous Haiyuan became, the better. He had invested much into the city's development. You were incredible just now. You killed so many evil soul masters in one go and even injured a titled Douluo. You're really handsome. Nan Chu's eyes glittered with admiration and stars of infatuation. Lu Jingming laughed modestly. He wasn't short of admirers, but being praised by a character from the original work still gave him a small, satisfying thrill. Chu, why aren't you meditating to recover your spirit power? We still have to travel later. Nan Shui called, noticing her daughter's infatuation and twitching slightly at the display. I know! Nan Chu stuck out her tongue playfully at her mother, flashed a sweet greeting at Lu Jingming, then returned to Song Qian and the others and sat cross-legged to recover her spirit power. The hero saving the beauty trick works well. If you'd been a bit more proactive, she might have thrown herself into your arms, Gu Yu murmured as she drifted up to Lu Jingming. Her voice was low and cool, but an edge of sourness threaded through it. Now that you mention it, it really could happen. I'm very excellent and charming after all, Lu Jingming said, rubbing his chin and putting on an exaggerated, thoughtful expression with a smug little smile. Gu Ye's lips twitched. Her slender fingers clenched, and an impulse rose to strike that handsome face, but at the same time she hesitated. After all, it was undeniably a very handsome face. Lu Jingming noticed her sudden mood. The slight curve at the corner of his mouth told him it was good. She felt jealousy. It meant her feelings for him had reached some level. Bringing her along was paying off. Not long after, Shu Shu finished absorbing his fourth spirit ring and completed his breakthrough. Because this ring came from a spirit beast of the same spirit type, the process went smoothly, and the group didn't have to wait long. They left the Sunset Forest and headed back to Dragon City. As they departed, Lu Jingming cast a final look into the forest's depths. He would return. He had two objectives here. The Earth Dragon Gate's Wanzai Xuanbing Sui and the ice and fire yin-yang well within the sunset forest. The latter could wait, it wouldn't go anywhere. More urgently, the Snow Empress and the Ice Empress were both restless, especially the Ice Empress, who had been trapped in a frail physical form and urgently needed the Wan Zaihan Bing Sui to reconstruct her body. Dragon City, in the far north, was the largest city in the northern part of the Tianhun Empire and the closest to the Arctic ice field. Snow blanketed the city year-round. Flurries always danced through the air, making the metropolis look like a dreamlike ice city from afar. Despite the harsh climate, Dragon City bustled with people. Its proximity to the far north, one of the 3 major spirit beast gathering grounds, meant many stayed near the fringes of the Arctic, searching for spirit beasts or ice attribute heaven and earth treasures. 2 major spirit master sects guarded the city, the Tianlong Gate and the Earth Dragon Gate. The Tianlong Gate inherited the blue lightning tyrant dragon spirit, a rare true dragon spirit whose prestige once ranked it as the continent's foremost beast spirit. Over the years, the Tianlong Gate had overshadowed the Earth Dragon Gate in most ways. Many regarded the Earth Dragon Gate as a subordinate branch of the Tianlong Gate, and historically, it had often been treated as such. Nan Shui bowed slightly and led them swiftly toward the Earth Dragon Gate. Her face composed, but her mind already turning over the debts owed and the guests she must now entertain. Chapter 177, The Obedient Nanj. As the sect leader of the Earth Dragon Gate, Nan Shui possessed formidable combat ability, on par with an ordinary titled Douluo. She was not yet a true titled Douluo, however, and the current Heavenly Dragon Douluo of the Tianlong Gate was a super Douluo of tremendous power. The gap between them remained clear. Still, it was remarkable that Nan Shui, as a woman, had raised the Earth Dragon Gate to its present scale through her wisdom and strength, second only to the Tianlong Gate. Most of the spirit beasts of the Earth Dragon Gate were sub-dragon type, naturally inferior in quality and power to the true dragon spirits of the Tianlong Gate. Within the entire Earth Dragon Gate, only the Enamel Dragon spirit could compare to the Tianlong Gate's blue lightning tyrant dragon. Other spirits were far weaker. Although the Earth Dragon Gate and the Tianlong Gate had long competed in secret, it was a healthy rivalry. The 2 sects had maintained a deep friendship for 1,000 years. Otherwise, the Tianlong Gate, with its absolute advantage, would never have tolerated co-managing Dragon City. At present, the Tianlong Gate occupied the North City, while the Earth Dragon Gate held the South City. They faced each other across the city, each governing their own territory and maintaining a balance. With Nan Shui personally at their head, the Dragon City guards asked no questions. A quick look, and they respectfully allowed Lu Jingming and the others into the South City. They soon arrived at an impressive, grand courtyard. Above the gate, an old heavy plaque bore 3 characters in vigorous calligraphy, Earth Dragon Gate. As a major spirit master sect, the Earth Dragon Gate occupied a vast area. Even the guards at its entrance were genuine Spirit King powerhouses, a sign of the sect's long legacy and strength. As they returned to the Earth Dragon Gate, Nan Chu suddenly grew lively and talkative. She ran to Lu Jingming's side and enthusiastically introduced every detail of the sect. Watching her become so patient and meticulous, vividly explaining the gate's history and features, Shu Shenshu and the others exchanged surprised looks. When had the mischievous, hot-tempered little leader become so gentle, dignified, and solicitous? Nan Shui covered her forehead helplessly. She knew her daughter had an inclination toward handsome men, something she half blamed on herself, but it had never been this obvious. Who would have thought that the old trope of a hero rescuing a beauty would have such an effect on Nan Chu? Combined with Lu Jingming's striking looks, the result was immediate. Nan Chu was utterly smitten. Watching her daughter almost spilling every secret of the Earth Dragon Gate to Lu Jingming, Nan Shui felt a headache coming on. She even half feared that if she truly passed the sect to Nan Chu, the girl might run off with the whole thing after Lu Jingming. Within the Earth Dragon Gate, besides Nan Shui, there were 2 powerful Spirit Douluo-level elders and nearly 10 Spirit Saint elders, the backbone of the sect, safeguarding its stability and legacy. When they learned that Nan Shui and her companions had been ambushed by evil soul masters during their outing, The elders were stunned, faces dark with worry and lingering fear. When they discovered Lu Jingming and his group had intervened and rescued them, gratitude toward the strangers welled up in every elder's heart. Nan Shuishui's contributions to the sect's rise had been immense. She had led the Earth Dragon Gate steadily forward with strong leadership and power. The young disciples, Nan Chu Chu among them, were all carefully cultivated talents, the sect's future hope and the bloodline of many elders. If the evil Soul Master's attack had succeeded, it would have been a catastrophe. Even if not total annihilation, the sect's origin chi would have been severely damaged, making recovery on the Douluo Continent extremely difficult. When the elders learned that the evil Soul Masters had inside help in Dragon City, killing intent flashed in their eyes. They exchanged looks in silence and then quickly led elite disciples out to investigate. They were determined, even if a price had to be paid, to root out any traitor hiding in Dragon City and make them pay. The thought that the pillars of the Earth Dragon Gate had almost been wiped out filled every disciple with fierce hatred. But these matters were separate from Lu Jingming and his companions. The Earth Dragon Gate, with its long legacy and wide connections, certainly had the means to find those lurking evil soul masters. As their saviors, Lu Jingming and his group received the highest level of hospitality. They were escorted to the core of the Earth Dragon Gate, a quiet, secluded garden that ordinary disciples were not allowed to enter. This was Nan Shuishui's private residence, its elegance and tranquility reflecting her taste. Everyone took their seats in the garden. Nan Chu Chu, oddly well-behaved, brewed a cup of fragrant tea for Lu Jingming. He accepted it with a gentle smile, then spoke plainly. "Sect Leader Nan, I won't beat around the bush. Our main reason for coming is the Earth Dragon Gate's underground cold spring." Nan Shuishui watched her daughter's initiative with narrowed eyes. Even she, as Nan Chu Chu's mother, rarely received such attentive service. Her daughter had always been willful. Only when she'd made a mistake or wanted to curry favor did she behave like this. When Lu Jingming mentioned the cold spring, Nan Shuishui was startled and stared at him. The underground cold spring was an absolute secret of the sect. Ordinarily, only she and the two spirit Douluo elders knew of it. Even other high elders were completely unaware. She had never revealed so much as a hint to Nan Chu Chu. How did Lu Jingming know? Questions piled up in her mind, but she quickly ruled out the two elders as traitors. They were over 70, deeply senior, products of the previous generation, who had devoted their lives to the sect. They would never leak such a core secret. Since Lu Jingming already knew of the cold spring, Nan Shuishui decided wondering about the source was pointless. Facing the man who had saved her life, she sighed and said, "I won't ask how you learned of it. Our cold spring does exist, but while it has miraculous effects, it hardly seems worth coming all this way for, does it?" The Earth Dragon Gate's cold spring, used for cultivating young disciples, sat all the way in Haiyuan City in the Star Luo Empire, far from Dragon City, spanning almost the length of the Tianhun Empire. The spring helped temper the body, enhance physique, and consolidate spirit power, especially useful for disciples in the foundational stages. The sect's young generation had all benefited from it. But Nan Shuishui couldn't imagine a super powerhouse personally coming for water that had negligible effect on those above Spirit King level. Her gaze flicked to the Snow Empress. Could someone of her caliber be interested in spring water? Hardly. After thinking it over, Nan Shuishui guessed the true object of their visit might be the ore beneath the spring. Ancestors of the Earth Dragon Gate had once discovered a mineral vein under the spring and brought up a sample identified as a top-grade metal rich in ice attribute energy. Perhaps Lu Jingming and his group were after that. Lu Jingming smiled slightly and answered calmly, "You don't have to be so formal. Call me Jingming. To be frank, we are here for what's under that cold spring." Nan Shuishui's expression turned complex. "Very well, Jingming. Though the cold spring means much to my sect, compared to the life-saving debt you've left us, material treasures are insignificant. Besides, I don't actually know much about what lies beneath the spring." She shook her head ruefully. She had once tried to explore the depths of the cold spring, but the extreme cold there drove her back before she could go far. The Earth Dragon Gate's ancestors had established a cave that led down toward the ice attribute mineral vein, but even with her cultivation, she could only enter briefly. She dared not linger, let alone mine the ore. Chapter 178, The Furious Guye. The Earth Dragon Gate had long known the cold spring in their backyard was a rare treasure. Their instinct told them something even more precious must lie beneath, but they lacked the strength to retrieve it or investigate in depth. For now, they made do with using the spring to help train the sect's younger, less advanced disciples. Nan Shuishui rose without hesitation and led Lu Jingming and the others to the depths of the Earth Dragon Gate's courtyard. Tucked into a secluded corner was an ancient well. Cold chi rolled from the mouth of the well in wavering tendrils, filling the air with a strange, heavy chill. "Mom, is this the secret?" Nan Chu peered in, curiosity mingling with disappointment. "It just looks like a regular well. There's nothing special." "You don't understand, girl," Nan Shui chided, rolling her eyes. "You owe much of your cultivation to this cold spring. Without it, do you think you could have broken through to the spirit ancestor realm so quickly with your limited talent?" Nan Chu was younger than Lu Jingming, but had already reached the spirit ancestor realm, an achievement that, even at Shrek Academy, would rank her among the promising outer court disciples and put her in contention for inner court training. Her rapid progress owed a great deal to the spring. The other young disciples Lu Jingming had seen were under 15, yet cultivated beyond their years. Placed in a larger academy, they'd be considered core outer court talents. The spring's power, fed by the Wan Xuan Bing Sui, the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow, was clearly amplifying shallow cultivations. "Sect leader Nan, it should be down there," Lu Jingming said, pointing at the well. "I don't know the exact layout inside, but with Senior's help, we need not worry." Nan Shui relaxed visibly at his words. The Earth Dragon Gate had no way to explore the depths themselves, but Snow Empress, a supreme practitioner of ice attribute, would be at home in such a place. If the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui could be retrieved, Ice Empress could rebuild her physical body with its power, and Lu Jingming would no longer need to rely on the Black Abyss White Flower to assist her. Beneath the cold spring lay an ore vein of ice pole divine crystal, immensely valuable but difficult to mine on any large scale quickly. The 10,000-year ice marrow, however, could be taken intact. Once it was removed, the spring would cool, and the Earth Dragon Gate might then be able to mine the vein themselves. Lu Jingming had no intention of taking everything from them. This underground spring had been their legacy for generations, and though the Earth Dragon Gate might feel indebted to him for saving them, he had his principles. He planned to buy the ice pole divine crystals from them at a fair price. He lacked only money, not intent. The actual mining would still be the Earth Dragon Gate's responsibility. His power lay across the Star Luo Empire, and he couldn't manage the work personally. He also didn't intend to take the 10,000-year marrow for nothing. He had made full preparations. "Snow Empress, Ice Empress, you two go down. Gu Yue and I will stay above," Lu Jingming said. Snow Empress and Ice Empress nodded and slipped into the well, drawn like fish to water by the cold. Nan Chu, Lu Jingming, and Nan Shui watched them descend. Nan Shui's eyes widened when she recognized their guests. The two kings of the far north, Snow Empress and Ice Empress, ranked among the 10 vicious beasts. That their names had been whispered like thunder through Dragon City only made sense now. She didn't ask how Lu Jingming commanded such powerful beings. She merely felt relief. With Snow Empress present, the Earth Dragon Gate's long-guarded secret would finally be revealed. While they waited, Lu Jingming produced 8 blood-red crystals, 8 10,000-year sacred marks. Sect leader Nan, these are 8 10,000-year sacred marks, all sub-dragon sacred marks. Consider them compensation for what we take from below. Nan Shui stiffened. "How can this be? You saved the Earth Dragon Gate. We owe you. Take what you need. No compensation is necessary." "Please accept them," Lu Jingming insisted. "Sacred marks are precious, but they mean little to us in Haiyuan City. They'll be much more useful to your sect." Nan Shui hesitated, then accepted. Sub-dragon sacred marks were tailor-made for the Earth Dragon Gate's bloodline and cultivation style. That Lu Jingming offered them voluntarily, when he could have taken everything without payment, made her admire him all the more. Among the 8 was even an enamel dragon sacred mark, rare and difficult to obtain. To create it, Lu Jingming had enlisted the Black Tower, which simulated an enamel dragon in the simulated universe to gather data. Mobius then used gene modification techniques on a golden earth dragon and, after complex procedures, successfully produced the enamel dragon mark. Fortunately, commonalities within the dragon clan's bloodline made such modification possible. The 10,000-year marrow was far more precious. Its energy could forcefully create a million-year spirit beast. But without Lu Jingming and his allies, the Earth Dragon Gate might never have been able to touch or mine it. These sacred marks, though less valuable in absolute terms, would be far more usable for the sect's immediate development. Wow! Sacred marks! An enamel dragon one too! Thank you, Lu Jingming! Nan Chuchu squealed. Her fascination with sacred marks had always been obvious. Overcome with excitement, she threw herself at Lu Jingming, hugged him, and planted a vehement kiss on his cheek, leaving a glossy, wet mark. What are you doing? Guyu's eyes went wide. Her expression snapped like a cat whose tail had been trod on, fur bristling, outrage flashing across her face. She hadn't even kissed him herself yet, and some pink-haired stranger had beaten her to it. The indignation and panic were clearly written on her features. Nan Chuchu shrank back, face flooding scarlet as she felt the murderous gaze from Guyu. She clutched the sacred mark and hid behind Shui Shui, mortified and embarrassed by her impulsive display. Guyue ground her teeth. She didn't explode, but she didn't hold back either. She took a handkerchief from her bosom and, with a look of fierce proprietorship, reached up and wiped Lu Jingming's cheek clean. She wouldn't allow another person's mark to remain on his handsome face. Lu Jingming blinked with an innocent expression, as if completely unaware, but he had chosen not to dodge the kiss. He could have easily avoided it. Instead, he let it happen, partly because he enjoyed the look of jealous fury on Guyue's face. Nan Shui Shui covered her forehead with a hand, equal parts exasperated and amused. She scolded her daughter for impulsiveness, then looked at Guyue with a touch of worry. This rivalry could become pressure her girl wasn't used to. Still, she felt fondness for Lu Jingming. He had come with a purpose, but he'd saved them, and he'd offered generous compensation rather than simply taking advantage. Given the Earth Dragon Gate's present incapacity to retrieve the marrow, she had no real objection to him taking it. If anything, accepting his help would repay the life-saving grace and give the sect a chance to benefit from the treasure later. From Nan Shui Shui's perspective, Lu Jingming's conduct was commendable. Chapter 179, Bilin's 7 Absolute Flowers. To Nan Shui Shui, Lu Jingming was not only a man of good character, but also exceptionally handsome and composed. From the way the Snow Empress and Ice Empress treated him, and from the status of Haiyuan City, Nan Chuchu was clearly marrying up. With his terrifying talent and strength, able to injure a titled Douluo and even stand as a spirit king, it was no wonder Nan Shui Shui was pleased to have such a son-in-law. Still, a woman's intuition told her Lu Jingming might be a dangerous prospect, a pit her innocent daughter could fall into and find hard to climb out of. Worst of all, Nan Chu's eagerness to throw herself at him was obvious. They had known each other such a short time, and she was already kissing him. If Lu Jingming showed more initiative, would Chu Chu obediently let him take things further? Nan Shui Shui felt torn about whether she should stop her daughter from getting closer to him. When the Snow Empress and Ice Empress emerged from the ancient well, everyone noticed that the cold qi that had been streaming from the well had significantly weakened. Lu Jingming turned his attention to the Ice Empress. Her form and appearance had not visibly changed, but the qi around her had deepened noticeably. Although the Ice Empress had lost her physical body and had not yet returned to peak strength, with a supreme ice treasure like the Wanzai Xuan Bing Sui, the 10,000-year mysterious ice marrow, her recovery to former power was only a matter of time. With the marrow secured, Lu Jingming discussed the Ice Extreme Divine Crystal Mine with Nan Shui Shui. She would not refuse such a beneficial arrangement. She was grateful. Without Lu Jingming and his group, the Earth Dragon Gate would never have recovered even a single Ice Extreme Divine Crystal, much less mine the vein for wealth and resources. The two sides spoke frankly and reached an agreement. Afterwards, Lu Jingming took his leave to return to Dragon City. Ah, are you leaving already? Won't you stay a few more days? Nan Chuchu looked crestfallen when Lu Jingming announced he was going. She had hoped to spend more time with him to deepen their understanding. We still have important matters to attend to, so it's inconvenient to stay long. If you have the chance, you're welcome to visit Haiyuan City. I'm sure you won't be disappointed, Lu Jingming said with a smile. He had many affairs to handle. Dragon City was interesting, but there was no reason for him to remain. Okay, I'll definitely go. Though disappointed for a moment, Chu brightened. Her fondness for Lu Jingming had grown quickly, born of his heroic rescue and good looks, but it wasn't yet uncontrollable. Right now, she was mainly regretful at how short their time together had been. Nan Shui and Nan Chu escorted Lu Jingming and his companions to the outskirts of Dragon City, standing quietly until the figures disappeared into the distance. Mom, I want to cultivate diligently and then travel the Douluo Continent, Nan Chu said suddenly. Determined, she had always trained, but never with such burning desire to become stronger. The terrifying attack by an evil soul master and the clarity of her goal had given her new drive. All right, I'll help you. Nan Shui was startled, then relieved. She stroked Chu's pink hair. She still wasn't sure whether Lu Jingming would be a blessing or a curse for her daughter, but at least Chu had found motivation to grow stronger. Good for the Earth Dragon Gate. In the Douluo Continent, strength brings security. The stronger Chu became, the safer the future of their sect. After all, as the next sect leader, her limit defined the Earth Dragon Gate's limit. Back in the Sunset Forest, Lu Jingming and his companions flew boldly toward the core area from high altitude. The forest was vast, but there were no spirit beasts strong enough to threaten them. The colorful, intimidating miasma hung high in the sky, but could not harm them. The Snow Empresses and Ice Empresses' ultimate ice naturally countered severe poisons, rendering the Sunset Forest's toxic haze a mere show. Soon they reached the densest area of poisonous miasma. Before them, a huge colored cloud filled the space, giving off a nauseating, pungent stench. Guye frowned. Once a bustling home to many large spirit beasts, the Sunset Forest was now desolate from the effects of this poison. The miasma hadn't just altered the ecology, it had killed countless spirit beasts and driven the forest toward decline. On closer inspection, the spread of the miasma seemed engineered rather than natural. Its coverage was too regular. The signs of artificial arrangement were unmistakable. With this level of toxic miasma, it's no wonder the forest's spirit beasts are almost gone, Lu Jingming said. Even a titled Douluo who rushed in might not withstand it. He shook his head. The sea god Tang San had indeed gone to extremes. To protect the ice and fire yin-yang well from discovery, Tang San had set up a terrifying poisonous array without regard for the destruction it would bring to the forest's creatures. His method was ruthless. Protected by the continual cold chi from the Snow and Ice Empresses, the miasma could not reach the group. Lu Jingming guided their spirit tool to descend steadily. Crack! Beneath their feet, a bone-snapping sound rang out. Lu Jingming looked down to see the ground littered with white bones. Spirit beast remains everywhere. The skeletons bore colorful markings, like records of the suffering the beasts had endured. Bastard! Guyu spat through gritted teeth. She'd been asleep in the Stardew Great Forest and hadn't known the Sunset Forest's recent plight. She had assumed the decline came from human hunting over the millennia, but now she could see the true culprit. The poisonous array that covered the core had driven the spirit beasts to extinction. The Snow Empress and Ice Empress wore grim expressions as well. The sight was shockingly tragic. For 10,000 years, countless spirit beasts had died agonizing deaths under the pervasive poison. Anger and helplessness rose in them all. Tang San might have meant only to protect the yin-yang well, but in doing so, he had ignored the lives of the spirit beasts and done irreversible damage. This way! The great merciful Tree King's voice sounded in Lu Jingming's mind. Following her guidance, he quickly located the ice and fire yin-yang well. The well contained many precious immortal herbs and an intense life energy that cut through the poisonous haze, something the Queen of a Thousand Trees could sense. The Snow Empress and Ice Empress released chilling chi as they moved, instantly freezing the poisonous miasma before them. Everywhere they passed was strewn with corpses. From the nourishment of those carcasses, various colorful poisonous plants had grown. They pressed on and soon arrived at a distinct area carpeted in vibrant green. Dense plants blanketed the ground and emitted wisps of green mist. Clearly, these plants were the source of the poisonous miasma above the sunset forest. The plants were short, only about half a meter tall, each bearing 9 oddly shaped leaves. The leaves resembled human hands, but with 7 fingers. Some larger leaves even had 9. At the top, big green flowers dripped with moisture, and their pistils exhaled the green mist that spread outward, merging into the surrounding toxic haze. Bilin 7 Absolute Flowers. Lu Jingming recognized the plants at once. The ice and fire yin-yang bees. Well lay just behind this field of Bilin 7 Absolute Flowers, the last barrier before the well. On the Douluo Continent, Bilin 7 Absolute Flowers were among the most terrifying poison-attributed plants, coveted by countless poison spirit masters. But seeing them gathered here by the thousands, covering several kilometers, was staggering. Such a concentration meant many had already metamorphosed into plant-type spirit beasts, some with 10,000-year cultivation. Those powerful plant-type spirit beasts would be a major obstacle to their progress. Chapter 180, The Power of the King of a Thousand Trees. Who set this up? Guyu, the Snow Empress, and the Ice Empress all recognized the Bilin 7 Absolute Flowers, and their expressions turned instantly grave. The Bilin 7 Absolute Flowers were not communal plants. For so many of them, to be gathered here at once meant someone had transplanted them deliberately and given them the nutrients to thrive. Who else? Lu Jingming muttered, a faint pout. On the Douluo Continent, not even a titled Douluo could have pulled off such a vast, complex arrangement. Aside from the divine, no one possessed the means or strength for this. Guyue, Snow Empress, and Ice Empress were not fools. After a moment's thought, they linked it to sea god Tongsan from 10,000 years ago. In that era, only one newly ascended divinity could have done this. The anomaly in Sunset Forest had also begun 10,000 years ago. The timeline fit too neatly. Retreat, Lu Jingming commanded. He raised his right hand, and the holy mark flared crimson. The incarnation of the great merciful Tree King materialized slowly behind him. Green light gathered into a sacred halo, bathing Lu Jingming in a potent aura of life. At his signal, the previously arrayed Bilin 7 Absolute Flowers, driven by that presence, parted to both sides and formed a wide passage. The emerald poisonous mist that had filled the air was drawn back into the flower's petals. The blooms drooped, subdued by the great merciful Tree King. "Come on, I'll show you something good," Lu Jingming said, smiling faintly. As the great merciful Tree King, the king of a thousand trees and a goddess of life, she naturally dominated plant-type spirit beasts. Under that imposing aura, the Bilin 7 Absolute Flowers dared not resist. Guyu, Snow Empress, and Ice Empress stared at him in surprise. Guyu especially, well-informed and bearing the dragon god's inheritance, had insight far beyond the other two. The incarnation that had appeared was likely the projection of a divinity, and from its aura, she judged it to be a divinity of life. Guyu was puzzled. She knew the goddess of life, so why had such a strong life aura manifested behind Lu Jingming? He had always been inscrutable. There were many things about him she could not see through. Lu Jingming clearly harbored many secrets, but she had no desire to pry too deeply. She only needed to be sure he bore them no ill will. They passed through the poisonous array of the Bilin 7 Absolute Flowers and arrived at the mouth of a descending valley. A dense green mist clung to the entrance like a viscous liquid, hiding the valley floor from sight. Snow Empress lifted her hand. With a single gesture, an ultimate ice chill swept out. Under that suffocating cold, the green mist froze and much of it dissipated. Following the path carved by the ice, Lu Jingming and the others descended into the valley. As they dropped, the poisonous fog thinned and the cliffs around them came into view. Azure blue vines patterned with colors writhed along the stone as if awoken by their approach. The vines lashed out like giant pythons, whipping toward them with crackling, whooshing violence, each strike carrying the power of an ordinary spirit king's full-strength blow. Humph, Ice Empress snorted, a flash of contempt in her eyes. She clenched her fingers into a claw and swept them through the air. 5 streaks of emerald light cut like lightning through the void and struck the blue vines. They cracked and broke, blue viscous sap spilling from the shredded ends with a sharp, acrid smell. With Ice Empress protecting them, the vines couldn't close in. After more than 300 meters, they finally cleared the vine's reach and descended further into the valley. Then, as they neared the valley floor, their bodies stopped. Before them unfolded a dreamlike sight, as if they had stepped into a fairyland. The sky above was layered with colorful poisonous mist. Sunlight scattered through it and painted the valley with rainbow light. Every inch of space was filled with brilliant colors, so dazzling they took one's breath away. The distant cliff shimmered with the dark blue vines they had fought earlier. Under refracted light, each vine gleamed like a string of jewels. From afar, the cliff looked like a monumental artwork forged of countless multicolored gems. The valley itself, though not vast, was a riot of vegetation. Flowers of every hue swayed gently, their shapes and shades vying for attention: fiery reds, rosy pinks, pure whites. Foliage was lush and thick, branches bowed under plump, fragrant fruit. Many plants radiated precious light, faint or blinding, and merely looking at them revealed their extraordinary worth. At the center of this botanical ocean, all the plants seemed to orbit a peculiar lake like stars around a moon. The lake was divided sharply into 2 contrasting halves. One side was icy white, wisps of white mist rising continuously from the surface, as if cold was escaping, chilling the air at a distance. The other side burned a fierce red, heat shimmered over its surface, and a palpable scorch emanated from it. Together, the red and white halves looked like 2 enormous jade stones, complementing each other perfectly and captivating the soul. The life aura here was so dense, it felt solid. The fusion of ice and fire, the constant evaporation from the lake, filled the valley with a vigor that made it feel like the source of life itself. This is... Even Gu Yu, the best informed of the group, widened her eyes in shock. The concentration of life energy in this valley rivaled the lake of life where her true body slumbered. Such terrifying vitality was paradise for plant-type spirit beasts. It was staggering to imagine how many rare plant-type heaven and earth treasures would be nurtured here. What unsettled Gu Yu most was a faint, familiar aura within the valley, especially around that lake of ice and fire. It stirred an inexplicable concern within her, as if something deep in that well was intricately connected to her. Lu Jingming's lips curved just slightly as his gaze fell on a large pink flower nearest the lake. He recognized it at once, the Yuxiang Chiluo immortal herb. His eyes roved over other plants, and he named them one by one. The Raging Flame Apricot Delight, a cabbage-sized plant entirely fiery red. The octagonal Mysterious Icegrass, 8-cornered and glacier blue. The Yearning Heartbroken Red, deceptively ordinary but peony-like and humming with a strange aura. And the brilliant golden Chiluo Tulip, pouring out an intoxicating fragrance. These immortal herbs were among the Douluo Continent's rarest treasures, almost impossible to obtain. The World Tree Holy Mark's power allowed Lu Jingming to sense more. 4 conscious minds were awakening. Within this ice and fire yin-yang well were exactly 4 immortal herbs that had reached the 100,000-year level and developed sentience. Other immortal herbs here, though ancient, remained at the instinctual level. Humans, how did you get in? The big pink petal quivered, and a clear, melodious female voice, like an aureole from a valley, echoed. 100,000-year spirit beast. Snow Empress and Ice Empress tensed immediately. On the Douluo Continent, only spirit beasts that had cultivated to the 100,000-year realm could usually speak human language. I'm not a 100,000-year spirit beast. I'm only 10,000 years old this year. The large pink flower sounded a bit displeased. Its petals swayed, and a dreamlike pink aroma flowed out, fresh, exhilarating, instantly revitalizing. Lu Jingming and the others felt no fear. Lu Jingming possessed the Black Abyss White Flower and the Great Merciful Tree King's power, so no poison could threaten him. Snow Empress and Ice Empress, bolstered by Ultimate Ice, had natural resistance to toxins. Gu Yue, as the incarnation of the Silver Dragon King, would not be troubled by mere toxins either. With the life energy here, a plant-type spirit beast gains in 1 year what it would take 10 years to gain outside, Lu Jingming explained calmly. The influence of the great merciful Tree King had made this valley an unrivaled nursery for plant-type spirit beasts and immortal herbs.